than a quarter century ago, a quarterback named Archie Manning donned the colors of the Ole Miss Rebels, and for 3 seasons he dazzled opponents with his arm and his legs, creating an everlasting place for himself in college football lore.
My name is Peyton. I'm 3 years old.
A generation later, it is Archie's son Peyton who has created a new Manning legacy as a Tennessee Volunteer. Peyton is cementing his own place in SEC history. Today, Peyton Manning must demonstrate his greatness once again and help his Volunteers regroup from a devastating loss to Florida as Tennessee tries to remain among the nation's elite. He must do it against the Ole Miss Rebels, the school he grew up cheering for. There is a new tradition being spawned from the Grove in Oxford as Ole Miss tries to recall the glory of yesteryear. It's football, SEC style, the Rebels and the Volunteers. Next, NASDAQ College Football on CBS Sports. The Vol Navy has dropped anchor in the Tennessee River in the shadow of Neyland Stadium to watch generations collide. Peyton Manning will lead his Tennessee Volunteers into battle against the Ole Miss Rebels, with the Rebs' most famous football alum Archie Manning rooting with mixed emotions. It's another sold-out house of more than 106,000 here in Knoxville to watch Ole Miss and Tennessee.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, where the Tennessee Volunteers are just now taking the field for their first home game in more than a month. The Ole Miss Rebels with a record of 3-1. Their only defeat at Auburn against a very tough Tiger team, a 10-point loss. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough. It's great to have you with us as Tennessee tries to rebound from its tough loss to Florida 2 weeks ago. Earlier this week, we spoke with Coach Philip Fulmer and asked him what his team has to do to get back up for the Ole Miss Rebels.
We reminded them of our tradition and how we've been able to bounce back. I think that's the sign of an outstanding staff or an outstanding leadership on your team. The Peyton Mannings, the Leonard Littles, the seniors. You know, when you have the courage to fight back and be a better team when adversity hits. And so far we've done that really well.
Indeed, they have. In 3 of the last 4 years, Tennessee has won the game immediately following the Florida loss. And over the last 4 regular seasons, Tennessee is 28-3-1 after losing to Florida. I'm joined, as usual, by Terry Donahue. And, Coach, if Tennessee is going to get back on track again this season, they need to run the football better.
Well, Tennessee has returned to fundamentals. They've had a rugged 2-week practice session in preparation for this game with the emphasis on the running game. They want balance in the offense to take some pressure off of Peyton Manning. Part of the running responsibility today falls on the shoulders of freshman tailback Jamal Lewis. He has all of the potential to be a great player. He needs to reach some of that potential today, get that running game of Tennessee going. They desperately need to find it.
And today they're playing a better Ole Miss Rebel team than Tommy Tuberville has had in his first 2 years, and he's done a very good job to have a winning record in 2+ seasons, given that he inherited a program on probation. A reduction in scholarships a major factor, but it is a team that's getting better rapidly at Ole Miss.
Well, Tommy Tuberville has done an outstanding job in the face of difficult circumstances. He has his team playing very well on a consistent basis. They think they're going to go to a bowl game. They're ready for this Tennessee game. He's done a good job with in-state recruiting and building a walk-on program that had added some depth to his team. He's on the right track.
And like Tennessee, the Rebels have had a tough time running the football, but they've played 2 games this year without John Avery, and he's terrific.
Well, John Avery is the fastest tailback in the SEC. They'll try to spread the offense, create some running lanes for him to rip that Tennessee defense today.
And we're pleased to be joined here in Knoxville by Michelle Tafoya. Earlier, she caught up with Archie Manning.
Archie, you and your wife Olivia and your son Cooper all went to Ole Miss. Here you are at Tennessee rooting for Peyton. What happens to your loyalties during a game like this?
Well, you know, the blood's pretty thick, Michelle. Ole Miss, Olivia and I had 4 wonderful years there. Cooper had a wonderful 4 years. I've always been very indebted to the state of Mississippi, and especially Ole Miss. I guess, like I told a friend this week, I pull for Ole Miss every week, every game. And starting next Saturday, I'll be pulling for them again. But you know, this is Peyton's senior year, and we're pulling for him today.
And Archie is now in the stands as his son makes his second career start against Ole Miss. Tennessee won the toss and will receive the opening kickoff, but they'll have no chance to run this one back as Steve Lindsey boomed it to the back of the end zone, and Mark Levine made the wise choice and decided to have his squad begin at the 20-yard line. So it's life after the Florida game for the Tennessee Volunteers, led by Peyton Manning, still the front runner in the race for the Heisman Trophy. Last year against Ole Miss in the 41-3 Tennessee victory, he had one of the best games of his career, going 18 for 22. First and 10. Volunteers beginning from their own 20. Manning to throw. Out in the flat. Jermaine Copeland ahead for a short gain out to the 22. It will be 2nd and 8. The rest of the Tennessee offense, as Terry mentioned, Jamal Lewis, the true freshman at tailback, with Sean Bryson. 3 wide receivers, Copeland, Marcus Nash, and Peerless Price. One change up front after the problems at Florida. Jarvis Rito moves in as the starter at right tackle. Mercedes Hamilton, Trey Teague, Spencer Riley, and Chad Clifton, the rest of the offensive line. And that front knew that it did not play very well against Florida. As a matter of fact, Spencer Riley said we embarrassed the entire state of Tennessee. Jamal Lewis with his first carry, and he's close to a first down, about a yard shy at the 29. Tackled by Derek Burgess. Burgess part of the defensive front for Ole Miss, with Johnny Jones and Andre Harris in the ends, and Michael Boone the other defensive tackle. Outstanding linebackers, Nate Wayne in the middle between Brock Kreitz and Walker Jones, a childhood pal of Peyton Manning is Jones. The corners are Malika Griffin and Gary Thigpen. The safeties, Jason Klingon and Timothy Strickland. A concern for Mississippi, the size of those cornerbacks. They are short. 3rd down and 1. And it's the fullback Bryson stacked up short of the first down. So Tennessee trying to establish the run early, could not on this first possession.
Sean, what happened was Mississippi lined up with 7 men inside the box. And as a result, Tennessee's in 3 wideouts. The 7 defenders are right there, and they just outnumber the Tennessee offense. They handed the ball to the fullback, and the Mississippi defense was there to stop them for a very important first series stop by that defensive team.
Andre Roan waiting for the punt from Chris Hogue, the senior from Memphis, took over as the starting punter 2 weeks ago at Florida and did an excellent job. Roan from the 32. Couple of nice moves, and then he's chopped down at the 35-yard line. A 40-yard punt by Hogue and a 3-yard return. He averaged 41 yards a punt and 6 boots at Florida. Corey Gaines made the tackle on special teams for Tennessee. Tommy Tuberville, the 42-year-old head coach at Ole Miss. This is his first collegiate head coaching job. His quarterback is Stuart Patridge, a senior from Morgan City, Mississippi. Last week, he led the Rebels to a victory over Vanderbilt, and those numbers you see earned him the Southeastern Conference Offensive Player of the Week award. John Avery, the lone back, lined up behind him. Patridge looks to throw, and it's behind his intended target, Robert Reed. It's a short passing, ball control offense primarily for Ole Miss. The rest of the skill players, Reed and Avery. With Rufus French, one of the top tight ends in the country. Corey Peterson and Grant Hurd are tall wide receivers, but not very fast. Matt Luke, the anchor of the offensive line, with Terrence Metcalf and Boyd Kitchen. The guards, Todd Wade and Devon Coburn, are the tackles. Second and 10. No score, just underway. Patridge looking deeper this time again for Reed. He was covered by 2 Tennessee Volunteers, and the pass was overthrown. For the Volunteers on defense, Ron Green moves in for Billy Ratliff, who was injured during the week in practice. Bill Duff, the other tackle, with Corey Terry and Jonathan Brown, the ends. Leonard Little, the outstanding middle linebacker, with Al Wilson and Raynoch Thompson. And in the secondary, Steve Johnson, Torrey Noel, Corey Gaines, and Dwayne Goodrich. They're going to try to play this game without their outstanding corner, Terry Fair, who's still bothered by a shoulder injury. Ole Miss has not done well on third down this season. This is 3rd and 10. Patridge has some running room, but it's closing up quickly, and he's out of bounds at the 34, back near the line of scrimmage. Chased out of the pocket by Bill Duff.
That was a nice series for the Tennessee defense. Defensive coordinator John Chavis told us yesterday that this defensive team is really searching for its identity. Last year, they were the best in the Southeast Conference. This year, they rank last in several categories. They need to find that identity today against Ole Miss.
Reagan King, a redshirt freshman punter from Ackerman, Mississippi, will punt it to Jermaine Copeland, who's standing at his own 23. Copeland from the 25. And he is tackled immediately. Sheldon Morris made the tackle for Ole Miss. Each team has had the ball once without success. Philip Fulmer's offense with the ball for the second time. It was 3 downs and out for each side on the first possessions of the football game. High formation, play action fake by Manning to Lewis, and his pass is batted down, intended for Jermaine Copeland, and a terrific defensive play by Timothy Strickland, the free safety.
What Tennessee wants to do is come out, try to establish the running game, and then counter that running game with a play action pass. That's exactly what they did on this particular play. Manning faked into the line to the tailback, then threw to the outside to Copeland. The ball was just extremely well played by the Mississippi defense.
Second and 10. Volunteers at their own 29. Manning looks to be changing the play with the linebacker Wayne right up on the line of scrimmage. Lewis off right guard out to the 33. Lewis goes at about 230 pounds. He's 6'1", from Atlanta, Georgia. In high school, rushed for nearly 5,000 yards. He's a native of Atlanta.
Tennessee is really searching to find an identity running the football. Phil Fulmer is a former offensive lineman. He's an offensive line coach. He wants to establish the line of scrimmage. He's not happy if he doesn't have a balanced team.
And he admitted that he felt the coaching staff got away from the run a bit too quickly in the loss to Florida. Here comes Wayne on a blitz. The pass is caught by Bryson, and he's close to a first down. He has it out of bounds at the 41-yard line. Nate Wayne came on a blitz, but Bryson was open along the far sideline, and it's the first down of the game for either team.
Nate Wayne, number 38, the middle linebacker for Ole Miss, comes clean as he can be, but credit Peyton Manning. No one blocks him, but Manning gets rid of the ball and hits Sean Bryson for the completion. That's what you want a Heisman Trophy candidate, a quarterback, to do. Sometimes make a play when nobody blocks anybody.
Jarvis Rito, who's a new starter this week, who whiffed on Wayne. Jamal Lewis, the ball carrier, tackled by Walker Jones, and there were a number of whiffs in that game 2 weeks ago by the Tennessee offensive line. They just completely missed some of the Florida defenders.
Well, and as a result of that, the Tennessee coaches came back, threw open for competition all of the offensive line positions, and Jarvis Rito, who was playing backup left tackle, got the start at right tackle today. And they're just trying to shake things up, trying to create some chemistry, trying to create some toughness so that they can rush that football and then complement it with the pass.
Second down and 4, no score. 4.5 minutes played here in Knoxville. After the fake, the pass on target for another first down. Again, it's Jermaine Copeland into Ole Miss territory at the 44-yard line.
Well, Jermaine Copeland plays in a lot of different positions for Tennessee. He plays in the slot. He also plays as a wideout. In this particular case, he's a wideout. He's man-to-man against Malika Griffin, number 34, and Copeland has a real size advantage. Jermaine Copeland is 6'2". Malika Griffin is 5'8". All day long, Tennessee will try to exploit that size advantage.
1st and 10, Tennessee. A long count by Manning. Fake draw, and the pass is overthrown. Looking for Andy McCullough along the near sideline. He was open, but the pass was too high. Gary Thigpen was the defender on McCullough.
As Jamal Lewis continues to play in this game, I'll be very surprised if he doesn't get stronger and stronger. You know, you're a freshman, you get your first start. Can you imagine, in front of over 100,000 people here? And this guy has talent. He was the MVP in the Georgia-Florida game this summer, and he's got 4.5, 4.6 speed at 230 pounds. He might be the answer for this Tennessee rushing game.
Quick pass over the head of the intended receiver, Benji Schuler, but still almost caught by Andy McCullough. Looked like it was intended for Schuler, at least he thought so. He threw his hands up, and it went through him, then clanged off McCullough and fell incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and 10. No score, just under 10 minutes remaining in the first quarter. And another 3rd down and long for Peyton Manning and the Volunteer offense. 3 wide receivers and 2 backs. No tight end on the field. As is frequently the case. They haven't had a reception by a tight end this season. That pass is wild. Manning running out of time. Threw it way over the head of Lewis. And it looks like Tennessee will punt.
It appears as if Peyton Manning didn't like the route that Jamal Lewis had run. Jamal Lewis is just learning some of these pass routes and pass protections. That's the hardest thing for a young player to learn. It isn't to run with the football. It's to learn the pass protection and the pass routes. Peyton Manning obviously upset with that particular route.
And that was the concern the coaching staff had about Lewis. He's still young and learning what he's supposed to do in those passing situations.
Part of the problem with the Tennessee offense has been the offensive line, particularly at the guard position. Watch Spencer Riley, number 68, working against Michael Boone. Michael Boone just pulls a little spin move and puts tremendous pressure on Manning. That's not the way you want to get your quarterback started. You've got to get him settled down, get him confident that he's going to be protected so he can get his feet planted and start ripping the ball down the field. Those offensive linemen at Tennessee have got to take responsibility for that.
Chris Hogue the punt after a Mississippi timeout. Andre Roan, the lone man back deep. He caught a couple inside the 5 against Vanderbilt. It caused him some big field position problems last week. Wisely, he let that one go, and it went into the end zone. So Ole Miss will begin at the 20.
You know, Sean, credit the Ole Miss defense. They've gotten off to an excellent start thus far. Tennessee's moved the ball a little bit, but Art Kaufman, the defensive coordinator, has got his troops playing pretty good so far. Ole Miss loves to work the tight end athlete. He's the player that runs down the field and goes and runs option routes and gets open in seams against defenses. The Ole Miss tight end, Rufus French, is one of the best in the country.
And the pass by Patridge intended for Corey Peterson was incomplete. Well covered by Steve Johnson.
Rufus French, number 9, is one of the young tight ends in the country, considered by many to be one of the top 3 athletes at his position.
He was the most highly recruited tight end coming out of high school a couple of years ago. He's from Amory, Mississippi, and 3rd in the nation among tight ends in receptions with 16. Patridge with the deep handoff, and not much there on the run for John Avery. He was banged down by Ron Green. Avery dislocated his left elbow in the opener against Central Florida, sat out the next 2 games. against SMU and Auburn, returned last week against Vanderbilt. He says he's not quite 100%, but he's getting better, and he was looking forward to playing in this game. He's from Asheville, North Carolina, which is only about a 2.5-hour drive from Knoxville. He grew up playing on the sandlots of Asheville with Leonard Little, who is a longtime pal and the outstanding middle linebacker now at the University of Tennessee.
They said they never played together in sandlot. They were always on opposite teams, and then they went to high school and played together.
Patridge is going to run. He has a long way to go for the first down. He didn't get anywhere near it. Then he got popped out of bounds by Corey Gaines. And it's a fired up Tennessee defense that stopped Patridge at the 26-yard line. Stopped him dead in his tracks.
Corey Gaines, the free safety. He's one of the heavy hitters at Tennessee, number 30. He comes in and sets the tempo. Stuart Patridge is going to have to learn to either get out of bounds quicker or hit the ground. You don't want your quarterback taking those kind of hits.
Reagan King under pressure just did get it off. Copeland calling for a fair catch. And he made it to the 35-yard line. Ole Miss almost guilty of violating that 2-yard radius. Tennessee back on offense after this. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue and Michelle Tafoya at sold-out Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. No score nearly midway through the first quarter. Tennessee back on offense. 1st and 10 from the 36. It's Jamal Lewis ahead for 4, and here's Michelle.
Well, Sean, for years, Ole Miss fans have been waving the Confederate flag at sporting events, but Tommy Tuberville believes that tradition is hurting the school's image. In an unprecedented move, he released a statement saying, "I know for a fact someone is handing these flags out. By accepting them, you are supporting their cause and not the cause of the university. As stated before, the rebel flag is not associated with Ole Miss." More in a minute.
First, the second down play, and it's Lewis following the block of Philip Crosby, the fullback, tripped up by Strickland. Michelle.
Well, he added, "It's time to support our teams with enthusiasm and not with symbols." Tuberville also feels the flags hinder recruiting, specifically of African-American student athletes, and a number of his players agree. Interestingly, on Tuesday, the University of Tennessee's Student Senate voted unanimously to support Tuberville's stance, but dozens of the flags are in the Ole Miss cheering section today, Sean.
Indeed they are, and it's a very controversial issue.
You know, Sean, from a football perspective, if you just want to talk about it from that perspective, there's no question that that's hard to recruit to when you have that going on your campus. And you've just got to understand, I think, that, hey, we've got to be able to recruit the best athletes in the country, and we don't want them to be turned off to Ole Miss for any particular reasons, and that's certainly a good one.
Timothy Strickland is the injured player. He made the tackle on the last play. And he's a key member of their secondary, a sophomore from Memphis, Tennessee, out of Hamilton High School.
Well, Tim Strickland, the safety man, comes up, kind of dips his head on contact, doesn't really stay square and take it on with his chest, and as a result, looks like he just took a real good hit by a big, powerful back. Remember, that's a 230-pound tailback that's running at you that runs about 4'5".
It seems that Strickland is okay as he ran off under his own power. 3rd down now. We need to get just across the 45-yard line for a first down. Manning to throw, and his pass is caught. Nice catch on the far sideline by Marcus Nash, the leading receiver for Tennessee this season. That's his 23rd reception, and he's now tied with Thomas Woods for 2nd place all time at UT with 124 career receptions.
Marcus Nash is in the slot. He just runs an out route. This is a timing route. Peyton Manning delivers the ball on time. Nash does an excellent job with his hands getting the ball, and Peyton Manning has already taken a little bit of a beating here this afternoon. He's been on the ground 3 or 4 times. The Ole Miss defensive front is starting to rough him up a little bit.
He was banged up, as you might expect, coming out of that Florida game. His pass incomplete again, looking for Nash. And Gary Thigpen had the coverage.
And Sean, once again, there was some pressure on Peyton Manning. He didn't really get time to get set and get planted so he can rip it down the field.
And you can understand why this offensive line might have difficulty against Florida, one of the best defensive teams in the nation. But this is an Ole Miss defense that's had a tough time putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. They've had just 6 sacks all season coming into this game.
I think that the Tennessee line has got to step up and take some responsibility. They've got a good quarterback. Now they've got to protect him.
2nd and 10. Gaping hole that time created by the line, and Lewis has a first down. Into Ole Miss territory and all the way to the 39-yard line where Strickland made the tackle. Timothy back in the game after being injured a moment ago. That's a gain of 13 for Jamal Lewis.
What you want to do is establish a pressure point. Tennessee's favorite running play is the off-tackle play. They pull the backside guard, the fullback kicks out, and they create a pressure point, and Jamal Lewis sees that hole and grabs it.
First and 10, Tennessee. No score. Under 7 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Play action fake to Lewis and a bullet thrown by Manning to Jermaine Copeland. First down at the 25-yard line. Malika Griffin had the coverage. So that's a gain of 15 for the Volunteers.
What you like to do is you like to set up the pass with the run. If you're Tennessee, this is what we call a play action pass. They want to make it look like a run to the secondary. They fake the tailback in there hard. Peyton Manning, as you can see, has all the time in the world to get planted and throw the ball down the field. Jermaine Copeland with the reception. Tennessee is going to run lots of play action today.
Philip Crosby, the fullback, barrels down to the 21. Here's Jim Nantz in New York.
All right, Sean, after Boston College scored on the 2nd play of the game, Georgia Tech drove back and tied it. Philip Rogers from 6 yards out, 7-7 first quarter. Let's go back to Knoxville.
Thank you, Jim. Here it's a tie game, no score, more than midway through the quarter. That Boston College team trying to deal with some injuries as they take on Georgia Tech today. They're without their starting quarterback, Matt Hasselbeck. 8th play of this drive for Tennessee. Manning has a man open, and Peerless Price couldn't make the catch. Hit him right between the 3 and the 7 along the far sideline, but he dropped it. And it'll be 3rd down.
Peerless Price is a player who's coming back from an injury. He had a serious leg injury. He hasn't worked with Peyton Manning all summer long. That is offensive pass interference. A receiver cannot push off a defensive back, and Malika Griffin, number 34 for Ole Miss, was certainly pushed by Peerless Price. The official ought to see that and be able to call it.
Maybe it was Peerless's guilt that caused him to drop the ball.
I highly doubt it.
3rd down and 6. Manning steps up and throws, intercepted by Griffin at the 1-yard line. Malika Griffin, a senior who had his first career interception last week to seal the win against Vanderbilt in the 4th quarter with Ole Miss leading 9-3, stops this Tennessee drive deep in Ole Miss territory.
Marcus Nash is playing the right split end position. He's going to run down the field and take an inside route. It's a good route, but Malika Griffin comes underneath. The ball is a little bit late being delivered, and Griffin just comes underneath to make that important interception. Peyton Manning knows that that ball wasn't on time.
Manning is the all-time leader in Southeastern Conference history and lowest interception percentage. Look out! John Avery lost the ball at the 2-yard line. Looked like he might get tackled in the end zone for a safety, and he managed to use his 4.3 speed to get out of the end zone, and it was a helmet that came flying off and not the ball. From our vantage point, it looked like the ball, but it was a helmet. Avery held on and went out of bounds at the 3-yard line.
Well, you talk about a scary play, but Ole Miss can gamble because they're the heavy underdog. They try to get that great speed of Avery on the corner, but Tennessee can really run on defense.
Looked like there was movement along the line. There is a flag down as Avery is trying to get them some more room with which to work. Goes to the 7, but it looked like Tennessee was offside.
I think the right defensive tackle for Tennessee jumped offside, jumped into the neutral zone a little bit early. As a result, this is a big penalty against Tennessee. Right here, we're going to have some early jump by Tennessee, and as a result, Ole Miss gets an easy 5 yards after being backed up. This is a big play for Ole Miss. It gives them a little space. Now all of a sudden, signal calling becomes a heck of a lot easier. Buxton, number 97, was the culprit on that play.
Ball goes out to the 8-yard line. 2nd down and 3. No score. 5.5 minutes left in the first quarter. Ole Miss hasn't been able to move the ball at all. And it's Avery squirting off one would-be tackler for what appears to be a first down out near the 12. Bill Duff and Buck Buxton combining on the play, but it is a first down for Ole Miss.
John Avery is not known for running well inside the tackles. He's more of a player that you want to get on the perimeter. But here he actually just lowers his pads and breaks through the Tennessee defense. The mark of a good back, yards after contact. Avery won that particular battle.
Well, he's gained about 15 pounds since last season to help him with that inside running. They're trying to get him outside to use that speed, and he's thrown for a loss. Back to the 9-yard line, Sean Ellis and Torrey Noel leading the defense for Tennessee.
Sean Ellis, the left defensive end, plays this play to perfection. What you want to do when you're playing defensive line is defeat the offensive blocker, stretch it down the line of scrimmage, and get off blocks. That's exactly what Sean Ellis does there. Can't be played any better than that.
These two teams have had trouble running the ball this season. 8th and 10th in the Southeastern Conference in rushing. Patridge under pressure, throws incomplete. He was looking for Robert Reed. Reed had stopped running his route as Torrey Noel had the coverage. Patridge needs to be careful. He was tackled in the end zone for a safety in their loss at Auburn, and that was a very big play in a tight game in the second half.
Now we've got 3rd down coming up here, Sean. This is where Tennessee did not fare very well against Florida. They gave up a number of big 3rd down conversions against the Gators. This is going to be a test for the Tennessee defense, how well they can play 3rd down against Ole Miss.
And we'll see how risky the play call might be from Noel Mazzoni. It's a conservative call. There are flags down, and the play goes nowhere. Avery driven back by Corey Terry and Darwin Walker. Well, let's check out the penalty flags. Ron Gilbert is the referee leading this crew of Southeastern Conference officials.
Offside on the defense, lined up in a neutral zone. 5-yard penalty, previous spot still, 3rd down.
It must have been an obvious penalty because the official along the line of scrimmage on each side of the field threw a flag.
Oftentimes the player lined up closest to the ball is the culprit. His head sometimes gets over the neutral zone. I don't know if Darwin Walker 58 did that, but sometimes that's certainly the case.
Now a more manageable 3rd down, but still a long way to go. 3rd down and 8 for Ole Miss. No score under 4 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Volunteers showing blitz off the corner, and they did come. It was well picked up, and the pass is caught for a first down. So that offside penalty was huge as Ole Miss converts on the completion to Grant Hurd, the sophomore from Lake Jackson, Texas.
Grant Hurd runs what we call a curl route. He comes strictly down the field and pushes the defensive back off the line of scrimmage and then turns inside. The ball is high, but he does an excellent job getting his hands on the ball. Stuart Patridge completes the pass, although it's not your picturesque throw.
His first completion of the game. He's now 1 for 5 for 11 yards. He's looking to throw again. And his pass is caught. It looked like it would be intercepted, and it was caught by Robert Reed on the deflection off Dwayne Goodrich. First down, Ole Miss out of the 38-yard line.
Robert Reed runs down the field. He runs a deep out route, and the quarterback, Stuart Patridge, is sprinting towards him. This is a dangerous throw when the ball is behind. Dwayne Goodrich played it beautifully in terms of coming over the top and trying to make the interception. You've got to have a foot in bounds.
Back to the run. It's Deuce McAllister. Backs up Avery. And saw substantial playing time when Avery was out with a dislocated elbow. And McAllister close to another first down out at the 48-yard line. Corey Gaines made the tackle.
Think about how this drive was kept alive with that defensive offside penalty. Coaches always talk about the little things. You know, alumni fans, they get tired of hearing about the coaches talk about the little things. But indeed, it's those little things that drive you crazy when you're coaching.
Particularly when you're trying to rebound from an emotional loss. That's what the Volunteers are trying to do today after losing again to Florida 2 weeks ago. Corey Peterson was the motion man on 2nd and short. They're looking deep, and it is caught. The officials looked at each other and then signaled it is a catch for John Avery. Deep into Tennessee territory at the 27-yard line. He beat Steve Johnson, who had good coverage, but Avery still came up with the ball.
22. John Avery is a dangerous player with his speed on the perimeter. He runs out and then up the sideline, and Tennessee, Steve Johnson just can't cover him. The speed of Avery is the difference, and he does an excellent job of concentrating on the ball and bringing it down. What a play.
Hazard's lost the football, and the Volunteers have it. Ole Miss had driven from its own 1-yard line to the Tennessee 27. Then Patridge dropped the ball, and Jonathan Brown recovered.
The quarterback can pull out from underneath the center too quickly, and an offensive lineman sometimes knocks the ball loose. The ball is knocked out of Patridge's hand by Boyd Kitchen, 78, with his left hand. It just slapped it right out of the quarterback's hands. He's over there trying to explain to the coaches exactly what happened.
And maybe you should explain to Kitchen we're trying to hang on to the football here.
You know, I've had that happen to me time and time again. It just happens over the course of seasons.
Manning swings it out for Lewis. He has running room, breaks the tackle of Wayne, and has a first down out to the 48-yard line. So each team has made a critical mistake or two here in the first quarter, and there is still no score.
The more you can get the ball into the hands of your top players, the better off you are. Peyton Manning just lays the ball off. Nice catchable pass, gives it to Jamal Lewis, and then he starts showing his stuff. This is why this freshman gets to start today. He's powerful. He can break tackles. He better secure that football or he's going to fumble it pretty quickly.
That was a gain of 16. Again, the quick pass caught by Marcus Nash, and he's ridden out of bounds by Brock Kreitz, who is the leading tackler for Ole Miss this season, the senior from Naperville, Illinois.
The Tennessee coaches are really going after number 34, Malika Griffin, the defensive back for Ole Miss. He's only 5'8", 180 pounds, and the Tennessee wide receivers are substantially bigger than that, and they're going after him and they're picking on him. But he came up with a huge interception earlier in the game when he came underneath that route down by the goal line.
Tommy Tuberville said the other teams exploited Griffin the last couple of years, but this year he's more than held his own, as we saw with the interception today. That's a completion for a very short gain to Andy McCullough. Gary Thigpen drove him back. That catch by Nash a moment ago was his second of the game, and he now has 125 career receptions, all alone in second place in school history here at Wide Receiver University, and Joey Kent is #1. Long way to go for Nash. Joey had 183 receptions during his time in Knoxville. Manning 8 out of 15 for 64 yards. He's thrown a big interception. Timeout called by Ole Miss. They were confused, and Mitch Baker called the timeout. 30 Eastern, NASDAQ College Football on CBS Sports. After the Ole Miss timeout, third down and short, and the pass is incomplete. Underthrown, looking for Copeland. He came up arguing with the official, saying that he caught it but the officials decided he trapped it, and it'll be a punt for Tennessee.
You know, some of the fans a little impatient here. They think Tennessee maybe should go for this on 4th down and short, but I think this is a good call by Philip Fulmer. You've got to play field position with your defense early in the game. You don't want to give an underdog like Mississippi a lot of breathing room.
This is a good point on the field to try a fake punt if you had it in your arsenal. Ole Miss players pointing at the Tennessee line, indicating that they saw movement, and the officials did as well. And now that the yardage on 4th down is longer, the personnel changed by Ole Miss.
Now they have their punt return team in, and they'll either go after a block or they'll go ahead and set up a return and see if they can get better field position.
Tommy Tuberville points to special teams as an area where the reduction in scholarships really hurt, because he has to play players on special teams who really aren't up to par. Hogue with a beautiful punt high, and if they can get down there, they have a chance to down it. And they do inside the 5-yard line. Looks like they're going to mark it inside the 1, although there is a beanbag thrown at about the 2.5.
I find it interesting, Sean, all those people that were booing about 30 seconds ago are now cheering for the kick. You know, it's always fun when you're a coach. You always love that.
And Kevin Gregory, the snapper, was the man who got down there to down the punt.
Tennessee did an excellent job not falling victim to the fake fair catch that Ole Miss tried to employ, and they got down and covered this ball. But you know, Ole Miss has been in this situation against Vanderbilt 5 times. They started drives inside of their own 5-yard line, so it's not new field position for the Rebels.
And they managed to overcome that poor field position last week to beat Vandy 15-3. Even though Woody Woodenhofer, the Commodore coach, said he thought his team would win the game in the week leading up to the game. That did not happen. John Avery trying to get some breathing room, got a yard perhaps out to the 3. And it'll be 2nd down and 9.
I promise you that John Chavis, the defensive coordinator from Tennessee, had those guys over on the sideline saying, now if we get them backed up, let's not let them off the hook like we did the last time. Play field position so we can get the ball for our offense to have advantageous field position and get points on the board.
That's the end of the first quarter. The score, Ole Miss nothing and Tennessee nothing. We'll return to Neyland Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. Rebels break the huddle. First play of the second quarter, no score. Then they're in the shadow of the goalpost, working from their own 3-yard line. 2nd down, a long 8. Patridge throwing long into the sun, and it is caught. Big completion to Andre Rome, the senior from Daytona Beach, out to the 32-yard line with a first down.
Andre Rome just working one-on-one against Tennessee, going deep. The remarkable thing about this is that he catches this ball looking directly into the sun. It's a heck of a job of concentration by a wide receiver, just looking the ball in, making a great play against Steve Johnson, number 34 for the Volunteers.
Johnson seeing more playing time this week with the absence of Fair. Back to the run and a nice hole for Avery, but it closed quickly as Ron Green wrapped him around the ankles.
Going back to that last call, Sean, when you're backed up into your own territory inside the 5 or 10-yard line, a lot of offensive coordinators like to launch one. And Noel Mazzoni, the offensive coordinator of Ole Miss, did exactly that. Just launch it, try to get them off you, and give yourself a little space, and he hit it.
Noel Mazzoni spent a lot of time coaching on the staffs of Jim Wacker, the former coach of Minnesota and TCU. Coach Wacker would throw the ball around with regularity. Patridge on target. Robert Reed avoids Torrey Noel, and he's across midfield. Down at the 48-yard line of Tennessee. Here's Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Sean, a frightening incident at Monday's practice for Tennessee. Defensive tackle Bill Ratliff took a knee to the helmet and went was paralyzed temporarily. He lay motionless on the field for 20 minutes in what Phil Fulmer called one of the scariest experiences of his coaching career. In fact, Fulmer led the team in a special prayer after practice. Ratliff was taken to intensive care where he regained feeling and even told defensive line coach Don Brooks he still wanted to play this week. Ratliff was released from the hospital Wednesday. He is still out with a bruised spinal cord. Fulmer said the incident put football in perspective, Sean.
Indeed it did. And hoping that Ratliff might return to play this year. The pass caught by Rufus French and a good tackle in the open field by Al Wilson, with Dwayne Goodrich in the area, but it was Wilson who made the tackle. And defensive struggles this year for Tennessee. Last season the Volunteers were first in the Southeastern Conference in total defense, scoring defense, passing defense. They were third against the rush, and this year they're last or near the bottom in the top 3 on that list.
Well, and John Chavis, the defensive coordinator, told us yesterday that they just weren't consistent enough. They'd have good coverage, good run defense on one play, and then all of a sudden have a breakdown. It's that lack of consistency that was causing them real trouble.
On 2nd and 4, Avery bounced off the hit of Wilson, and then Raynoch Thompson made sure that he did not pick up additional yardage. The play goes to the 42, and it'll be 3rd down and just more than 3 for a Mississippi first down. Ole Miss and Tennessee scoreless early in the 2nd quarter. Ole Miss with a couple of long drives beginning inside its own 5. The previous possession ended with a fumble, and now they're on the move again. Avery the lone back. 4-man rush, well picked up. The pass caught very close to a first down, but Reed did not appear to get it. Torrey Noel drove him back just inside the 40. His forward progress close to the 39, but it looks from here that they're about a half a yard short. The officials are signaling 4th down and less than a yard.
Well, Robert Reed just runs across the formation, runs a little out route. He just gets a little too short on the route. He needed another yard on that route for the first down, and the responsibility is for the receiver to know where he's at on the field. Ole Miss doing a good job of getting rid of the ball quickly and getting that quarterback protected.
Going for it on 4th down, and it's Deuce McAllister, who's the inside power runner, picking up the first down for Tommy Tuberville. McAllister's a true freshman from Morton, Mississippi, with a big first down for Ole Miss.
In every game, you come up with 3rd and short yardage, 4th and short yardage. Your offensive line has got to win that battle for you. On that particular play, Ole Miss's offensive line went after him and made that important first down to keep the drive alive.
And it's a much better offensive line. Tommy Tuberville told us during the week, the first 2 years of his stint as head coach at Ole Miss, we couldn't block a soul, to use his words. Now they're much better. CBS Sports coverage of NASDAQ college football will continue after this word from your local station. And we welcome you back to Knoxville. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue, and it's obvious Ole Miss is here to give Tennessee a football game today.
Well, they're playing very well on both sides of the ball. Their offense is getting rid of the ball quickly, keeping the quarterback clean. They've done a good job thus far against the Tennessee offense.
On 1st and 10, throwing it up for grabs, Patridge, and it's a bit too long, looking for Corey Peterson. Steve Johnson had the coverage. That time Tennessee brought extra people. This drive began at the 2-yard line. Previous possession began for Ole Miss at its own half-yard line. Patridge started out 0 for 4. Now he's 7 of 12 for 103 yards. No score. Nearly 4 minutes played in the 2nd quarter. Ole Miss has lost the last 9 meetings between these two schools. Patridge has a man open and is caught by Roan. First down at the 23-yard line. 14 yards on the completion. Patridge to Roan.
It all starts with protection. If your quarterback has time, he can complete passes generally. And the offensive line does a great job of giving Stuart Patridge all the time he needs. Andre Roan runs a good route for him, catches the ball. It's an excellent executed play by Ole Miss.
Patridge, the most accurate quarterback in the SEC coming into today's action. And he's on target now after a slow start. Changing the play.
Here comes the blitz.
No backs behind Patridge. Three-step drop. He throws for the end zone. Just off the fingertips of Grant Hurd.
Stuart Patridge knew that the blitz was coming. He could sense it. He could feel it. And he did exactly what the coaches told him to do. Check off, get maximum protection, and go ahead and isolate one-on-one against Steve Johnson. And you've got Grant Hurd, 88, pushing off a little bit. The ball is just 6 inches thrown too far. Excellent, excellent camera work there.
2nd and 10. They're at the 23-yard line and on the move. Fake reverse, a disastrous play. Patridge held onto it, and he was dropped for a loss by Sean Ellis back at the 31-yard line.
Sean Ellis, the left defensive end, comes underneath the block. That's what enables him to defeat the offensive blocker for Ole Miss. The reverse takes a little bit too long to develop, and as a result, he creates the big tackle for the loss.
Loss of 8 on the play. Now it's 3rd down and 18. Their field goal kicker, Steve Lindsey, does have a very strong leg. Patridge has some running room, and he'll try to make it a shorter field goal as he goes down to the 25 in the arms of Al Wilson. So it's 4th down and 12, and the field goal unit has not yet come on the field. It means an obvious field goal situation, and here comes Lindsey. Lindsey had a very tough start in the opener against Central Florida. He went 1 for 5. But he's 4 for 4 since, including a 52-yarder at Auburn, which would have been good from deeper than that. Randall Green, the holder. That kick is right down the middle. And with plenty of room to spare. A 43-yarder by Steve Lindsey, the senior from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And Ole Miss, the big underdog, has a 3-0 lead. Steve Lindsey officially a 42-yard field goal. That's given Ole Miss a 3-0 lead. And now his kickoff. That almost went through the uprights. No chance for Dwayne Goodrich to return it. You mentioned Lindsey started out 1 for 5 in the opener against Central Florida. They eked out a win in overtime at home. Lindsey said he wasn't sure what kind of a reaction he was going to get from his teammates after that game, but they were supportive of him in practice. He made a mechanical change, took a bit of a wider angle in his approach to the ball on field goal tries, and now he is making everything in sight. Became a kicker growing up about 150 yards from the intramural fields of southern Mississippi in his hometown of Hattiesburg. Used to go out on those fields and kick the ball around as a youngster.
Well, what helps him is the power that his leg has. I mean, like you mentioned, a 52-yarder against Auburn. This guy can boom.
Peyton Manning in the flat for Nash, and he is driven back by this inspired Ole Miss defense. They've been picking on Malika Griffin, but he's been winning his share of the battles, and he stopped that play for a 4-yard gain.
The Tennessee coaches decided before the game to go after number 34, Malika Griffin. But as you mentioned, so far, he's been winning his share of the battles. And when you throw late into the flat like that, the advantage goes to the defense.
Griffin's the first cousin of Johnny Jones, the starting defensive end for Ole Miss. They lived within 5 minutes of each other their entire lives. Brian Darden into the game. And he's out to the 26-yard line, tackled by Robert Gates. Matter of fact, Griffin and Jones played on an outstanding high school football team in Mississippi. South Panola. Look at all the SEC players that high school team produced. They went 15-0, won a state championship.
You ought to go 15-0 when you got that many guys on your team.
They're from Batesville, Mississippi. Griffin and his cousin and former roommate Johnny Jones, who wears number 92 for the Ole Miss defense. Big play here. 3rd down and 4. 8 minutes remaining first half. Quick pass to Copeland, and he is stacked up right at the 30. He got across for the first down before being driven back. Jermaine Copeland, the junior from Harriman, Tennessee, moves the chains for the Vols.
Jermaine Copeland's a player that, watching Tennessee play throughout the year, he's been impressive. He returns punts. He goes out, plays in the slot, plays wide receiver. He's got excellent hands. He's made 2 of the real outstanding catches for Tennessee this year. One against UCLA, one against Florida, where he just reached out and grabbed the ball just out of space. He is a big-time player.
And still see some time in practice at quarterback. Hand off to the fullback Bryson. Nothing there. Stacked up for no gain by the heart of that Ole Miss defense. Derek Burgess and Morris Scott along the defensive front leading the surge.
Mississippi is controlling the line of scrimmage right now. On the last 2 running attempts by Tennessee, they have just forged through the Tennessee offensive line. Burgess, number 56, just goes in there, gets his pads down, and just flat whips his man, and that's what you have to do in football. You have to defeat the guy in front of you, and on that play, he did.
2nd and 10. Brian Darden outside and upended at the 35. He's down at the 36. Gary Thigpen sent him airborne.
That was the off-tackle play run by Tennessee again. That play is made some yardage against Ole Miss because they're stacking so many players up inside. There's an area right here in the offensive formation that you can punch a little hole into that defense, and it opens up there. It was a big run earlier by Jamal Lewis. It's a nice run right there. That's the play that Tennessee's going to come back to.
3rd down and 4. 3-0 Ole Miss. 6:15 remaining in the first half. Manning throws. It's deflected, and it falls incomplete. Derek Burgess, the true freshman, left defensive tackle, got a hand on it, and the ball fluttered to the ground, and the Volunteers will be forced to punt again.
Derek Burgess is a player who has moved over from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball. And one of the things that happens when you don't get to the quarterback, just get your hands up. He does. The ball gets deflected, almost intercepted. Manning knows that he's gotten off to a tough start and that those linemen have got to get those defensive linemen's hands down.
Malika Griffin, the injured player. Coach, some interesting comments in the paper a couple of days ago here in Knoxville by Spencer Riley, the offensive lineman. It seemed he was second-guessing the coaching when he's talking about the Florida game. When you pass 51 times and run 15, what do you expect? Of course, the other team's going to load up and send 8 or 9 guys, and we cannot block 8 or 9 guys with 6 people. So we need to get back to running the football, and we feel like we have a good run blocking line, but our pass protection is a little bit shaky because of a lack of confidence right now. Well, they haven't really done a great job opening holes for the run or for the pass today. Booming punt by Hogue. Roan from inside his 10. Out of bounds at the 17-yard line. 53-yard punt, 7 on the return. Anthony Carter third. Ole Miss with its first play of this possession. John Avery thrown for a loss. Raynoch Thompson, the sophomore from New Orleans, knocked Avery down back at the 12.
You know, it's interesting, Sean. We have about 5 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the first half, and I haven't heard you call Leonard Little's name yet today. Now, some of these players on Tennessee's defense, they're going to have to step up. Leonard Little is one of the real leaders on this team, plays a lot of different positions, has a leadership role on this team. This is when you're coming off a loss. This is when that leadership, as Philip Fulmer said, has to take over, and he's got to step his game up along with Al Wilson. Some of these players, if you can't win it on offense, win it on defense.
On 2nd and 15, the pass broken up. Dwayne Goodrich knocked down the pass intended for Reed, and had that ball been completed on stride, that was going to be a touchdown for Reed because he was behind the last line of Tennessee defense.
Robert Reed ran an inside post route, just working man-to-man against Dwayne Goodrich. As you said, this is going to be completed for a touchdown, but Goodrich comes underneath the ball and makes that play. Almost had an interception. That is just outstanding defensive back technique.
Patridge facing 3rd down and 15. The Rebels 1 out of 5 on 3rd down. Patridge escaped the rush and went out to the 15, but that's all. Sean Ellis made the play. Looked like there might have been an inadvertent face mask as Patridge was standing in the pocket, but there was no flag thrown on the play. His head got twisted around.
You're not allowed to get your hands on an opposing player's face mask. If you pull it at it violently, it's 15 yards. If you just catch it, it's 5 yards. Darwin Walker, 58, caught it. It should have been a 5-yard penalty.
Reagan King standing at his own 1-yard line. Ole Miss leads Tennessee 3-0. Jermaine Copeland returned the punt. Fair catch. Made at the 47-yard line. Excellent field position after a 39-yard punt. Well, we mentioned the comments of Spencer Riley. He and the offensive line admitted they were embarrassed by their performance against Florida. There are flags down here, but now's the time for them to respond by opening up some holes and protecting Peyton Manning better than they have.
Well, you know, you can always second guess when you lose, and there's always people that naturally do that, but the offensive line at Tennessee has really taken a verbal beating, not only this season but last season as well. But the
2 dead balls, personal foul against Horn. Dead ball, personal foul against Horn. 15-yard penalty, followed by a second dead ball, personal foul against Horn. 30 yards, first down.
Wow.
So much for the good field position.
Yeah, but the reality of it is that the offensive line at Tennessee is not performing up to the standards and the expectations established at this school right now. The Florida defense went right through them. This Ole Miss defense is giving them trouble up front. They're coming clean. They're whipping them one-on-one. And what has to happen is players have just got to step up, play better, and be quiet and keep playing. You know, you can't debate. This isn't a debate team. This is football.
That's right. Leave the coaching to the coaches. And Phil Fulmer admitted that they made some mistakes by abandoning the run early in that game against Florida. But sooner or later, the fellows who are playing have to open up some holes. Tennessee hasn't been able to do that. Both personal foul penalties are enforced in that situation, so it's 30 yards in penalties. And Tennessee has now been penalized 5 times for 45 yards, while Mississippi has not had any yardage walked off. Swing pass. Jamal Lewis with a first down out to the 35. Al Rice and Gary Thigpen combine on the stop after a pickup of 18.
Well, earlier in the game, Peyton Manning chewed Jamal Lewis out for running the wrong route. He got him squared away this time because he came out of the backfield, ran a little swing route to the left, and Peyton Manning threw a ball that's what we call catchable. Throw an easy catchable ball to a back who's running a swing route. It's an excellent throw.
On the delay, Lewis. He ran into Brock Kreitz at the 37-yard line. A gain of 2. Tennessee has moved the ball in spurts. The big play for the Tennessee offense of this first half was the interception thrown by Peyton Manning on the 3rd possession of the game for the Vols. That was picked off by Malika Griffin at the 1-yard line.
And I think you have to credit the Ole Miss defense, too. They have a well-devised plan here today. They're getting good man-to-man coverage. They're blitzing. They're putting a lot of pressure, and they're playing well against the run.
Manning sidestepped the rush, threw on the run, caught by Peerless Price, a first down into Ole Miss territory at the 45-yard line. 18 more on the connection Manning to Price.
Peerless Price working against Malika Griffin. We're certainly calling Griffin's name a lot today. He runs an inside route, the toughest route to cover in football. And Manning did an excellent job. He's worked the pocket, moved around, found that open space, and let the ball fly.
Less than 3 minutes remaining now in the first half. 3-0 Ole Miss. Quick pass to Nash. He maneuvers down to the 41-yard line. where Morris Scott made the tackle. Art Kaufman, the defensive coordinator for Ole Miss, told us Griffin will play the whole game if all goes well, but he can't play now because he's injured on the sideline.
Well, the Tennessee coaches have certainly tried to go after him, but Malika Griffin has held his own. He came underneath on an inside route, made a big interception, and then came right back, makes a good tackle. He's playing the game too. You know, he's on scholarship.
Now live, it's Lewis showing his strength as he took Brock Kreitz for a ride. Jamal Lewis short of a first down.
See, that's one of the things that'll really help the Tennessee offensive line. Linemen get better when they have good backs, and as Jamal Lewis gets more mature, starts winding it up, he'll start creating some plays on his own. The Tennessee line will get better as he gets better.
Timeout, Tennessee. The Ole Miss medical staff working on the left leg of Malika Griffin, the starting cornerback. They're a little bit thin at virtually every position because of the reduction in scholarships. They lost 12 scholarships each of the first 2 years that Tommy Tuberville was the coach. Result of probation. Practice committed by the previous regime. On 3rd and 1, it's Jamal Lewis powering for a first down to the 32-yard line. And the time is becoming a factor, but with 2 minutes left in the half and 2 timeouts remaining, plenty of time for the Volunteers.
They'll go into no huddle offense now. Boy, I like the way Jamal Lewis hit that last play. He hit it 100 miles an hour.
3-0 Ole Miss. Final 2 minutes of the first half. Manning throws far sideline over the head of Nash. Timothy Strickland had the coverage. Strickland is capable of moving from safety to cornerback if Griffin cannot return. He's played some cornerback this season. Coming up in a minute and 47 seconds of game action, college football today, the halftime report with Jim Nance, Lou Holtz, and Craig James. All of the scores and highlights from around college football today. And Malika Griffin has returned to action now for the Ole Miss defense.
I was standing next to Malika Griffin yesterday when they were going through the pregame practices, and he has the biggest calves I've ever seen for a defensive back. They're huge.
2nd and 10. To the end zone. Incomplete. Peerless Price had broken free, but the pass was too long. He had run away from Gary Thigpen, who had the coverage. Now it'll be 3rd down and 10.
This should have been a touchdown by Tennessee. Peerless Price just runs a pass, an inside post route right down the field. Gary Thigpen gives him a big cushion, and then when Price breaks it, he just uses that speed. That should be a touchdown, Tennessee. The ball just wasn't well thrown by Peyton Manning.
Yeah, it's possible Price still is not as fast as he once was, coming back from that broken right leg suffered in April in their orange-white scrimmage.
Yeah, but that should have been a reception.
Yes, it should have been. Manning throws, and it is caught by Copeland very close to a first down at the 22. He comes up asking for a timeout. They might have gotten a free timeout on a measurement had they waited, because this is very close to the 22-yard line. Nate Wayne made the tackle. 1 timeout remaining for Tennessee when we come back. During the commercial timeout, there was a measurement. Tennessee is inches short of a first down. Philip Fulmer going for it on 4th down and inches. Lewis, first down to the 20. Needed inches. He got about 2 yards. Brock Kreitz will be credited with the tackle, but the drive continues for Tennessee, and Philip Fulmer wants them quickly back on the line of scrimmage.
Well, they're going to go with a no-huddle offense.
1 timeout remaining for the Vols. They're at the 20, 1st and 10. And the clock ticks down to a minute 20 remaining in the half. Manning over the middle, wide open. Touchdown, Marcus Nash.
Marcus Nash runs an inside route against Walker Jones, 29, and uses a nice little slip technique, working to the inside seam. Manning hits him with the ball. Touchdown, Volunteers.
4th of the season for Nash. The senior from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jeff Hall, connects on the extra point. And Tennessee is on the board with 1:13 left in the half.
You wonder why a guy like Marcus Nash becomes the second best receiver in the history of Tennessee. It's a little move like that that gets him open. You have to find techniques to get open with, and then he sees that goal line and goes after it.
7-3. Tennessee has the lead. Back for the final 1:13 of the half after this. Philip Fulmer elected to go for it on 4th and inches. The gamble paid off as Peyton Manning threw a 20-yard touchdown pass to Marcus Nash in the next play. And the Vols lead for the first time. This is Sheldon Morris trying to return the kickoff, and he is taken down short of the 20. Mississippi begins there. Next Sunday, CBS Sports rolls into the fast lane with one of NASCAR's hottest events, the Sears Die Hard 500. Defending champion and overall points leader Jeff Gordon will try to hold off the likes of Mark Martin, Dale Jarrett, Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt, Bill Elliott, and many more. The Sears Die Hard 500 live from Talladega next Sunday right here on CBS Sports. Terry, I'd guess with no timeouts deep in their own territory in the football game as they are, Ole Miss might just elect to play it conservatively here.
Well, I think they will, unless all of a sudden you pop a big play. Then you'll go into your 2-minute offense. You don't want to give Tennessee a chance to get any more points than they've already gotten.
And dancing up the middle is Avery. That's a first down. Now they're out to the 30, and the thought process might change, but still a long way to go with 59 seconds left in the half.
Yeah, I don't think you're quite far enough out to go in. But if all of a sudden you get another play, and then boom, you'll jump into that 2-minute offense and try to get a score.
Well, as you see, they did go back into the huddle. Last Tennessee scoring drive was impressive. 83 yards, 11 plays. Avery had no room going left, tried to cut back up the middle and ran into his childhood chum Leonard Little. We talked with John Avery yesterday. He said he and Leonard Little talk on the phone about once a week, but they do not talk the week of the Ole Miss UT game.
Well, and Leonard Little, I'm sure, has something to say to him when he makes this tackle. Players love to chat back and forth as they make plays against one another. And when you're neighborhood buddies, that really goes on. And John Avery said he expected Leonard Little to talk to him a whole lot and then make sure everybody got off him quickly.
Well, Avery told us yesterday at last year's game, Leonard Little told Avery a couple of times, you better make sure you have that helmet on tight because we're coming after you. And Avery assured him that he did. We mentioned earlier they grew up together in Asheville, North Carolina, playing on the playgrounds. Terry mentioned they were usually on the opposite team because they were the two best players. And Avery said he learned to run fast in part because he didn't like to get hit, particularly by a guy like Leonard Little. Avery's had little running room today. 10 carries for 14 yards for Avery. He gets another chance and is out to the 32 on the final play of the first half. Corey Terry made the tackle. Ole Miss playing the kind of game it needs to play to hang in there as a big underdog against Peyton Manning and the Tennessee Volunteers. Here's Michelle Tafoya.
All right, with Tommy Tuberville, coach, you came into this game as underdogs. You said you had an improved team. How did you manage to keep this game so tight so far?
Well, I don't think they expected this tough a game. Our guys are ready to play. We've got a good bunch of kids that really want to win on the road, and people kind of taking us for advantage. Our word this week's been respect. We're trying to earn some of that.
How will you keep that last touchdown drive by Tennessee from changing the momentum too dramatically?
Well, the thing, we got tired on our defensive line. We didn't get a pass rush, and Peyton's pretty good when he don't have a pass rush. So we'll just have to get our defensive line geared back up the second half. Hopefully we can make some interceptions. We're playing pretty good on defense.
Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you.
At the end of the first half, the score: Tennessee 7, Ole Miss 3. Jim Craig and Lou will be along with College Football Today's halftime report after this word from your local station. Second half about to begin. Moments ago, Michelle Tafoya spoke with Phil Fulmer.
Coach, you finally got into the end zone just before the half. What is Ole Miss doing to make things so difficult?
Well, there's a lot of different things at different times. We're helping them some with our protection. Our timing of our route running is off. Not being consistent in the run game. Hopefully we'll get that corrected. Go and win this football game.
Coach, thanks a lot.
Terry covered a lot of ground there, but all of it is accurate. His team is still not in sync.
Well, it's not, and they came into the game wanting to control the line of scrimmage. They've not been able to do that against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss hasn't been able to run the ball either. So neither team is really rushing the ball. It's going to take Tennessee some time. But when you really look at it, Jamal Lewis has a chance, I think, to become a dominant player for this Tennessee offense. But they definitely are struggling on the offensive line and just really aren't getting consistent holes opening up.
Tennessee will kick off to begin the second half. Jeff Hall, the junior from Winchester, Tennessee. Good kick, about 3 yards deep in the end zone. Fumble! And it is recovered. John Avery returning the kickoff. Lost the football, and Gerald Griffin got it at the 25-yard line.
John Avery has an opening in the Tennessee defense. He hits it, but the ball is stripped by number 2, Fred White. He just pops it loose. And sure enough, Tennessee comes up. Gerald Griffith, number 18, comes up with the big recovery. That was a potential touchdown run by Ole Miss, and the hole just closed in there. Excellent special teams play by the Volunteers.
Avery hasn't been returning kicks because of the elbow injury. Tommy Tuberville said he would put him back in there today. He didn't tell Avery that till very late in the week. Not the way Peyton Manning wanted to start. He had to burn a timeout before they could even run one play here in the second half. Apparently halftime was not long enough. Back in a moment.
Well, Fred White is the headhunter for the Tennessee defense, number 2. He makes the hit. Gerald Griffith with the recovery, but the question is, you know, John Avery with that bad elbow returning kickoffs.
Manning to the end zone. Touchdown. They capitalize on the very first play. Andy McCullough. And it's 13-3 Tennessee after a 24-yard touchdown pass. Tennessee built some momentum with a late touchdown in the first half, and they benefit in a major way from the Avery fumble on the opening kickoff of the second half. Jeff Hall converts, and it's 14-3. Andy McCullough with his second touchdown reception of the year.
Andy McCullough working outside here. He's going to run into a 2-deep defense, and watch the safety right here. Tim Strickland, he overplays the inside route. He takes a little bite on that fake and then gets beat inside. That's the responsibility of the safety to get over on that ball. Andy McCullough is a 6'3" receiver. He's a big playmaker for the Volunteers. He runs an excellent route, and Peyton Manning, precision throw. I think Peyton Manning was relieved when this ball was thrown in there, Sean. He was a big old smile on his face. Gives the Volunteers a little breathing room.
Andy McCullough, senior from Dayton, Ohio, on the receiving end of Manning's second touchdown pass of the game. And Hall kicks off for the second time in 19 seconds. And Avery is once again back deep to receive the kickoff with Ken Lucas. Avery can take it the distance. He ran 2 backwards touchdowns last year. And a nice bounce for Tennessee. Rather than go out of bounds, it bounced into the end zone. And now there's a skirmish at about the 15-yard line, and flags fly. And it looks like Tennessee is going to be penalized for another personal foul. Philip Crosby seemed to be the main man in the action for UT.
Dead ball fall, personal fall, on the orange, 15-yard penalty, first down.
6 penalties now against Tennessee for 66 yards. Mississippi has not been penalized, and that's a problem the Rebels have had. Last week they were flagged 14 times in the win against Vanderbilt. So the Rebels will begin with good field position at the 35-yard line. Stuart Patridge, the senior quarterback. 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers into the game. Avery stays in the block, and Patridge goes down back of the 28-yard line. Sacked by Bill Duff. 2nd sack of the day for Tennessee.
That was a nice surge by the Tennessee defensive front. They really came on them with nice pressure and just overwhelmed the Ole Miss offensive line, really for one of the few times thus far today.
Halftime stats. Tennessee had a 4-point lead at the half. It's now 11. Slight edge in first downs and rushing yards and passing yards. Each team turned it over once.
Rushing yards by Tennessee and by Ole Miss really down. Certainly not what Tennessee wanted coming into today's game.
And just a continuation of a season-long problem for both teams. Let a lot of blitz, and the pass dumped off. Avery breaking tackles. A flag thrown late back at the feet of a Mississippi offensive lineman at the 30-yard line. Corey Gaines and Jonathan Brown made the tackle, but they threw a flag right at the feet of Matt Luke, the center. And this play will come back. 14-yard gain wiped out by the holding call. The first penalty against Ole Miss today.
Well, Tennessee came with the pressure, trying to upset Stuart Patridge, the quarterback from Ole Miss.
In the back, on the offense, 10-yard penalty, spotted a fall, 2nd down.
Leonard Little comes from the outside with the pressure, trying to disrupt the rhythm. It's a nice screen play by Ole Miss. They lay it off. It's a late hit really on the quarterback by Leonard Little, but then the penalty occurred on the sideline against Ole Miss for blocking in the back. It was an offensive lineman who got out there late.
Now they're back at the 20-yard line. And it's 2nd down and 25. Patridge throws it up for grabs, and Dwayne Goodrich runs it in for a touchdown. A flag down on the play. Again, it looked like there were some extracurricular activities after the touchdown. Probably another personal foul call, but it looks like the touchdown will stand. And again, it's on Tennessee. We believe it was Raynoch Thompson guilty of the personal foul, but Dwayne Goodrich has his 2nd interception of the season, and this one got to run in 30 yards for a touchdown.
You always want to be careful when you're throwing into a flat late. This ball is simply late. Dwayne Goodrich has nothing but time to break underneath Robert Reed and make this interception. It's just an ill-conceived, poorly timed play.
A disastrous beginning to the second half for Ole Miss. They were down 4 at halftime, and 2 quick turnovers resulted in 13 points. This will be a much longer try than usual for the extra point. It's the equivalent of a 35-yard field goal for Jeff Hall, and it's good. So he's still perfect for the season on extra points. Goodrich, the sophomore from Oak Lawn, Illinois, helped make it 21-3 Tennessee. Back in Knoxville, where Tennessee has gotten off to a terrific start here in the second half, and it's now a 21-3 lead.
Well, whenever you're behind an offensive line like Stuart Patridge is there, you got to make sure you see the flat coverage. This was just a great play by Dwayne Goodrich. He was pushed deep, and then all of a sudden the ball just floated out there. He had plenty of time to break on it. Made a huge turnover for Tennessee.
The kickoff was popped up, and Deuce McAllister called for a fair catch down the ball at the 27-yard line.
Watch Robert Reed in the slot. He's going to run down and out. They're going to try to clear up, but this is the defender right there. That's Dwayne Goodrich. Watch the play that he makes. He backpedals. All of a sudden, the ball is thrown into the flat. He breaks on it, catches it in his hands, has clear sailing for the touchdown. You can't play corner any better than that.
And after the interception, a new quarterback, true freshman Romero Miller, is into the ball game. He gave it to Avery, and how about those moves? He bounced off the official, and he'll be very difficult to catch. What a start to this half. Touchdown, Ole Miss. "74 yards for Avery, the senior from Asheville, North Carolina, and it looks like they're going to line up and go for two. That's the longest run of his career on a play from scrimmage. Even the umpire John Gaston couldn't bring him down as they collided after Avery broke through the line of scrimmage. So Romero Miller, obviously at quarterback, is instant offense.
Well, when you hand it off to a guy as fast as Avery, you know, we talked about the speed of Avery. He certainly showed the speed on that particular run as he outran the entire Tennessee defense.
After a timeout called by Tennessee, when it appeared Ole Miss would go for two, Tommy Tuberville reconsidered, and Lindsey missed the extra point. He hooked it wide left out of the hold of Kevin Cooper.
Boy, now that's a disappointment for Ole Miss. They really agonized over the fact of kicking the ball or going for two. They made the right decision, which was to kick, and then they miss it. But on the touchdown play, what happened was John Avery does a great job. Watch the defensive end, Corey Terry for Tennessee, and the linebacker, Raynoch Thompson. They overrun the play a little bit, and you're just going to see a great individual effort by John Avery making people miss. He's got those quick dancing feet. All of a sudden, the official gets in the way of the safety, Corey Gaines, and it's down the sideline. But the speed that this kid has is remarkable. This guy can run 4.3 in the 40. He's probably the fastest tailback in the SEC. And right here, he really outdistances a fast Tennessee defense. This guy can fly.
Well, he idolizes Barry Sanders, has a poster of Barry Sanders in his room. And he looked like Barry Sanders right there with his ability to cut back and have the defenders over pursue.
You know, great backs, they make people miss. You don't always block everybody perfectly in football. Sometimes guys get off blocks, but great backs can do that. They make you miss. He used those feet in the hole, danced around, kept his pad square. What a touchdown run.
Wild start to the second half. Tennessee has scored 2 touchdowns. Ole Miss one. Now the kickoff was dropped by Dwayne Goodrich. And he managed to get out to the 16-yard line. Well, everybody in this stadium needs to catch a breath, so we'll check in with Jim Nantz.
All right, Sean, from Knoxville to Nashville, where former Vandy coach Jerry DiNardo brings his LSU Tigers. What a game here. The first points late third quarter. Herb Tyler touchdown pass to Foster. 7-0 lead. They just start the fourth, but the big news, Cecil Collins with a broken leg, the SEC's leading rusher, out for the season. Let's go back to Sean and Terry.
Thank you, Jim. Terrible blow to LSU there, and there's a lot of bad blood in that rivalry the folks at Vandy didn't like when Jerry DiNardo left to become the coach at LSU. And a lawsuit ensued. Peyton Manning dumps it off, and that play is snuffed out very well by Malika Griffin.
Sooner or later, Tennessee's going to quit picking on number 34, Malika Griffin. He's held up better than anyone anticipated him being able to today. He has been able to break on balls, play the deep ball, play screens. He's given up a few yards, but all in all, he did a great job there getting off the block by the offensive lineman and being able to come up and make the play.
Mark Levine, the receiver of that pass, ordinarily a running back. He was lined up out wide, and it's a loss on the play back to the 12. Jamal Lewis and Philip Crosby in the eyes. Crosby leading the way for Lewis. Lewis bouncing off tackles, and it's Malika Griffin once again on the stop at the 20, a gain of 8, and it'll be 3rd down and 6 for Tennessee.
Tennessee blocked the line of scrimmage pretty well that particular time, and Jamal Lewis was able to break a tackle. If you watch the right side of the Tennessee line, they're going man on man, big men on big men. Crosby, the fullback, leads, and then it's up to the tailback, and he breaks some tackles. That's a good, productive run.
Still Crosby in front of Lewis in the eye. On 3rd and 6. Play action fake. Manning throws, and it is caught for a first down by Marcus Nash at the 32-yard line, a gain of 12.
Marcus Nash runs a nice route. He threatens the defensive back with a deep fake. He acts like he's going to go deep, and then all of a sudden breaks it off to the sideline. Peyton Manning has come off a play action fake. The ball is delivered. Nash goes up in the hands, catches it. Well executed, well timed throw.
6 catches today for Nash. 53 yards and a touchdown. Lewis straight ahead. Not very far. Derek Burgess, Morris Scott leading the defensive surge for the Rebels. Is it possible that these two teams have played just more than 4 minutes here in the second half?
Not the way this half has come undone, I'll tell you. It started out so even in the first half, and then Tennessee gets those breaks early in the second half, and it looks like they're just about ready to knock Ole Miss out, and sure enough, Avery takes that run, and they're back in the game.
2nd and 9 for Manning and the Volunteer offense. Peyton Manning 30-5 in his career as the starting quarterback at Tennessee. Quick pass for Peerless Price. Look out! Peerless Price out of bounds at the 39-yard line of Ole Miss. Chased out by Timothy Strickland. It's a gain of 27.
You've got to give David Cutcliffe credit, the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. He said he was going to throw some quick screens today. They haven't been very successful, but this particular one to Peerless Price certainly is. The ball is delivered. The Tennessee linemen get out in front of it, and this is how to create space, air in a defense. You pump it full of air to create more running room for backs and wide receivers.
So that was the secret for you winning all those games at UCLA.
Yeah, pump it full of air.
The handoff on a reverse. And the ball came out, and Mississippi has it. Tyrone Graham, a deep reserve wide receiver, took the handoff, and he fumbled the football, and it's a huge turnover as the Rebels get it back at the 28-yard line.
Well, watch number 34, Malika Griffin. He's going to come up big again. He's playing man-to-man coverage. He comes all the way across the formation on the reverse. It looks like it's going to be a very good play. And right here, 34 comes in, knocks the ball loose. What a play. You talk about pursuing the football and staying after business. Griffin did exactly that.
Graham, a surprise ball carry. He did not have a rush or reception all year before that fumble on the reverse. So Ole Miss with a chance to get right back in the football game after the early catastrophes here in the second half. It's Avery bouncing ahead to the 35-yard line where Buxton made the tackle.
Avery's got he's one of those backs. He's got the vision. The offensive line does a good job sucking the defensive line upfield, and then he just bounces. He kind of feels his way, sees those holes, feels them, and then hits it. He's a good shifty back. You know, people talked about him not being able to run inside the tackles very well. He certainly has disproved that myth.
Coach Tuberville said he's as good as any back that he's been around, and Tommy Tuberville, remember, coached at Miami.
Texas A&M. He's been around a few guys.
Deuce McAllister, who spells Avery at fullback, close to a first down. His name is Dulimus McAllister, known as Deuce because he wore number 2 in high school. Now he's number 22, so I guess they'll change that to Double Deuce.
Should be Double Deuce. That's the way you get to be famous in football. You got to have a catchy name. Deuce McAllister. You'll remember that. You know, it's catchy. I like that.
I probably remember Dulimus too, though. He is the only Dulimus that I know. First down, Mississippi. And they do prefer to be called Ole Miss, as you see on the helmets and on the hat worn by Coach Tuberville. Romero Miller, the new quarterback. He has seen some action. He got in for a series against Auburn and had a tough time of the loss to the Tigers. Went 0 for 4, but he is a big-time recruit, the Mississippi High School Player of the Year last year from Shannon High School in Shannon, Mississippi. Setting up a screen. Deuce McAllister trying to shed a tackle. And that looked like a very promising play. There was only one man with a chance to break that up, and it was Al Wilson. And no gain on the play when it looked like it might go a long way.
Well, Al Wilson is a big-time linebacker for Tennessee. A lot of people think he's a legitimate All-American candidate. Romero does a nice job on the screen for a young freshman player. He draws the Tennessee defense in, lays the ball high so no one can catch it, puts it in his running back's hands, but then all of a sudden Al Wilson comes from nowhere and slows him down for a little gain. I like Al Wilson. I watched him play against UCLA. He can tackle, he can run, he's tough, he's good.
Contact along the line. Buck Buxton was moving. He tried to get back without colliding with the Ole Miss offensive line, but he did not.
Ball before the snap. Offside. On a defense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Now, Buck Buxton, he jumped off sides earlier in the game. And, you know, the interesting thing is he's lined up right next to the ball. He's an interior tackle. But what happens is you start listening to the quarterback's cadence rather than watching the ball. You're lined up right on the ball. You've got to watch the ball or see it out of your peripheral vision. But don't listen to that quarterback.
Buxton's a senior from Girard, Georgia. And it looks like Ole Miss might have returned the favor. Buxton moved again. The question is, was he drawn off?
I think he was drawn off that time by the left tight end of Ole Miss.
Well, Phil Fulmer has shed the hat and the headset.
Ball before the snap. Outside. On a defense.
Well, he was not drawn off. And Ron Green comes in for Buxton. Well, if Tennessee wants to be an alliance team, and they still have a chance for that, they can't do the things they're doing today. All kinds of stupid penalties.
Watch number 9, Rufus French. See if he jumps. He did, but late. Actually, it was a good call by the official, Buck Buxton.
And they've had these needless personal foul penalties. The offsides early in the first half in a key situation when they had Ole Miss looking at 3rd down and long. That second penalty gave him a first down. Now Avery trying to get outside. Boy, is he fast.
You know, sometimes that happens to you, Sean, when you come off a bye. You haven't played for 2 weeks. You lose a little bit of your timing, your tempo. You're not quite in rhythm. I don't know if that's what's happened to Tennessee, but you're right. They certainly have had an inordinate number of unnecessary penalties today. And Philip Fulmer and his staff will go back after this game and get that corrected because it's costing them today.
We could see as Buxton came off the field, Fulmer was right in his face. Avery with the long touchdown run, now with a chance for a big day. With the last carry, he's up over 100 yards. 14 rushes for 103 for Avery. Second down from the 45 of Tennessee. Miller changing the play. And he needs to get under center and snap the ball. The play clock was at 1. Miller lost it as he fell down. Incomplete pass. Ruled a forward pass by the referee, Ron Gilbert. Sean Ellis knocked Miller to the ground, but it's ruled an incomplete pass, and it'll be 3rd down.
Sean Ellis comes from the left side of the screen, and he's virtually unblocked as he charges through the Ole Miss offensive line. Romero Miller does a good job of getting his arm motion going forward, so it's not ruled a fumble.
Tremendous noise now from a crowd of more than 100,000. Blitz, man open. First down and more. Andre Roan down to the 31-yard line. They beat a blitz. Dwayne Goodrich made the tackle on Roan, but that's a gain of 19.
Tommy Tuberville, he told us that Romaro Miller was going to be a great player, and he didn't mind putting him in the game at any time so that he could learn under fire. He got blitzed, he unloaded the ball right in the flat, just like he was coached to do. That was a big-time throw for a true freshman quarterback.
From the 31, Miller throws to the near side. French dropped for a loss. Again, it was Al Wilson. Right in the face of Rufus French.
You know, we came into the game talking a lot about Rufus French being one of the better tight ends in the country. And he is a great young prospect. He can line up at the slot. They want to try to get him the ball, but boy, you can't beat Al Wilson like that. He's a ball hawk. He's all over the field.
Ole Miss has had some excellent tight ends. Last year, their tight end was Chris Mangum, who was named to an All-American team. He's now on the practice squad of the Carolina Panthers, and of course, the Panthers starting tight end Wesley Walls, who's terrific, is an Ole Miss alum. Draw play. Avery ran into a pile and got back to the 31. It'll be third down at about 10. If you joined us late, Ole Miss scored first after a scoreless first quarter. Steve Avery, 42-yard field goal. Steve Lindsay, rather. And then just before the half, Marcus Nash on the receiving end of the pass from Peyton Manning, 20 yards, 7-3 Tennessee at the break. Disaster early. They fumbled the second half kickoff, and Andy McCullough scored on the first play from scrimmage. Tennessee scored again on an interception return of 30 yards by Dwayne Goodrich. Then Avery went 74 yards for an Ole Miss score. They missed the extra point. The Rebels have marched down to the 32. The crowd making it tough for Miller to change the play. Play clock at 2. Out of the shotgun. He just did get it off. It's a blitz. And he goes away from the defense and throws on the run. And it is caught for virtually no gain by Corey Peterson. Looked like it would be a loss on a sack back to the 50-yard line. Jonathan Brown and Raynoch Thompson put the pressure on Miller, but he managed to stay on his feet, and he threw to Corey Peterson for a very short gain. It'll be fourth down. Here comes the field goal team.
Sometimes athleticism is what you need at the quarterback position more than anything else. Romaro Miller shows tremendous athleticism, getting away from that blitz, keeping his team in field goal range.
And a good catch by Peterson to hang on after he took the hit. 47-yard try. It's a fake, and Lindsay goes nowhere. Tackled by Al Wilson. What a sequence Wilson has had.
Al Wilson has come up big time and time again for this Tennessee defense. The holder catches the ball, flips it to the kicker, and he tries to sweep right in. But Al Wilson is out there in the flat, played the fake all the way, made the big turnover for Tennessee.
So it's still 21-9 in favor of the Vols, and they have it first and 10. Lewis has shown a punishing style today. He's out to the 34 for a gain of 3.
You know, when you're trying to run fakes, you've got to be able to make sure everybody's accounted for. Steve Lindsay looks like he's got a little room, but Al Wilson just comes out of nowhere to make the play. Philip Fulmer's a little excited about that play. Don't let him run the fake on me.
Well, they had changed the holder on the missed extra point. They put Kevin Cooper in as the holder, and he remained in for that fake. The regular holder is Randall Green. Big hole. Lewis, first down. Out near midfield, Jamal Lewis down to the 49, tackled by Timothy Strickland. 16 yards of the gain for the true freshman from Atlanta.
Jamal Lewis will get better every game that he plays. He'll get better with every carry he touches the ball. He's a powerful guy. He just needs to learn to get those pads down a little bit lower when he's attacking those defensive backs once he breaks clear from the line of scrimmage.
Lewis having his best day as a college football player. Manning throws, all kinds of contact. No flags. It looked like they had Marcus Nash by the shirt And Phil Fulmer can't believe there is no penalty flag, and he seems to have a legitimate beef.
No question about it. Marcus Nash is trying to run an out and up. He's going to run out to the boundary and then try to go deep. And Gary Thigpen just grabs him by the shirt and holds him from going deep. Yet sometimes a defensive back needs to do that to keep a touchdown pass from being thrown. But that official has to be able to see that and make that call. That's poor officiating. Phillip has a right to be upset.
As do 106,000 folks in attendance here.
Well, some of them didn't have a good seat. Phillip had a good seat. He was ringside.
Even those without the good seat managed to boo. Jamal Lewis stumbles across midfield to the 48. Gain of about 3. Walker Jones made the tackle. And Tennessee starting to do a better job establishing that balance.
Well, you mentioned how they got a little bit impatient with the running game against Florida. I think they came in here this afternoon determined not to let that happen again. Even if they were going to have to play a close, tight ball game, they have to look down the whole schedule, and they have to run the ball and get balance if they're going to be effective.
Manning throws, caught. Nash has the first down. Stepped to the 40-yard line and earned the first down by 1 yard. Malika Griffin forced him out of bounds. And now Peyton Manning is in a rhythm. Since the first quarter ended, he's gone 12 out of 16.
Well, Peyton Manning has a strong arm. It's a little 3-step drop, but he can get the ball out there to the flats in a hurry. And when you have Marcus Nash against Malika Griffin, there is a little bit of a mismatch. As well as Griffin has played, he is only 5'8". Marcus Nash is 6'3".
Tennessee leads 21-9, 2:13 remaining in the third quarter. Manning changed the play. Quick pass, caught for a short gain to the 36-yard line. Peerless Price, the receiver.
Now,
Gary Thigpen had the coverage.
Tennessee is thrown in the flat 2 consecutive plays. Get ready for them to take and run a takeoff again, where they fake the ball into the flat and then try to put it up deep.
Manning has thrown for more than 300 yards in each of the first 3 games of the season. First time in his career he's thrown for 300 plus 3 games in a row. Now Lewis on the toss. Nice cutback. He lowers his head and runs over Timothy Strickland, and it's a first down at the 22. 14 more for Lewis. He's approaching 100 for the afternoon.
If you're a Tennessee fan, you want to see Jamal Lewis keep emerging as a dominant player. Everyone says he can play at this level and play as a freshman, and he is the future in terms of a running game. When you have an offensive back starting to knock defensive backs over backwards, that's when you start dominating the game.
And his size and speed have invited comparisons to Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker. Lewis tackled on that play by Mitch Baker. Next weekend, the PGA Tour on CBS travels to historic Williamsburg for the Michelob Championship at Kingsmill. Scott Hoke will defend his title against the lineup that includes Ryder Cup teammates Justin Leonard and Lee Janzen, plus Paul Azinger, Larry Mize, Payne Stewart, Fuzzy Zeller, and more. Next weekend, golf coverage on CBS Sports. 2nd and 10. Manning throws, and it is dropped. He threw a bullet right to Andy McCullough, and it clanged off his shoulder pads and fell incomplete.
That ball has got to be caught by Andy McCullough. When you're the quarterback, you expect players to come up with these plays. He runs a little stop route, goes down the field, pushes the DB off, turns around. The ball is in the outside pocket, hits him right between 1-8 and the other 8. You got to catch that ball.
50% on 3rd down today for the Tennessee offense. Vols lead 21-9, 27 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. 3rd down, nearly 10. They came on a blitz, and it is incomplete. Again, McCullough could not hang on with Malika Griffin in coverage. Here comes the field goal unit.
Andy McCullough looks like he tweaked his leg on the last play. They ran a little post route inside. They had isolated man-to-man coverage, and Ole Miss came with the blitz. Peyton Manning saw what he wanted. He threw it. Looked like he had a touchdown.
And Peyton's less than pleased. 2 passes in a row that could have been caught by McCullough were not. 39-yard field goal try for Jeff Hall, and he pulled that one a little bit, and it's wide left. He had been perfect this season from between 30 and 39 yards, 2 for 2. But that one's wide left. So a good drive results in no points for UT.
You ever notice when a kicker misses, he comes over the sideline? Very rarely do you ever see a coach, a head coach, assistant get really upset with them, because you don't want to disrupt their confidence and you want to keep them calm. Their game is a different game. Football's a violent game. You want everybody fired up and intense, but the kicker, you need him relaxed. And so when he came off the field right there, Philip Fulmer just tapped him, said, hey, it's okay. You'll get the next one. That guy had been an offensive guard. Fulmer would have grabbed him by the chest and said, hey, block that guy.
Ole Miss begins from the 22. And Stuart Patridge is back in at quarterback. Avery. Fumble! Recovered by Reed, but it's a loss on the play. Back to the 17-yard line. Corey Terry knocked the ball free from Avery. And you wonder if that dislocated elbow is giving Avery a tough time when it comes to protecting the football. That's twice he's laid it on the ground. That's the end of a wild third quarter. The score, Tennessee 21, Ole Miss 9. Will return to Neyland Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. First play of the fourth quarter. Second down and 15 for Ole Miss. Patridge throws short to Peterson. And he's knocked down at the 19-yard line. Well, they'll give him his forward progress. We're live at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. Second home game of the season for the Tennessee Volunteers, and they lead Ole Miss 21-9. Sean McDonough with Terry Donahue and Michelle Tafoya. Coach, interesting that Tommy Tuberville changed back to Stuart Patridge.
Well, I think he got accomplished exactly what he wanted to with Romaro Miller. He wanted to put him in when the game was on the line, give him some experience, but his starting quarterback is Stuart Patridge, and he's going to go with him.
Patridge on a rollout, throws on the run, caught short of a first down, and Reed lost the football, and now it's ruled an incomplete pass. Wow. Official along the far sideline ruled it an incomplete pass, and now they're huddling. That sure looked like a catch, and then he got hit and lost the ball out of bounds. And the officials are still talking it over right in front of the Tennessee sideline.
Well, this is clearly a catch. The receiver has possession of the ball. He has the ball. Now the ball is knocked loose. It's out of bounds, but it is clearly a catch. I hope they get together and get this squared away.
Let's make sure he has possession. The ball still looked to be rolling up his arm there. I think, well, boy, it's close.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If you're Robert Reed, that's a catch. If you're with Ole Miss, that's a catch.
And now they have ruled it a catch and a fumble out of bounds. But it was short of the first down. Ball spotted at the 30-yard line. So it's a punting situation for the Rebels. Reagan King the punt. Jermaine Copeland back to receive it. No rush, low wobbly punt, just right to be run back. Copeland out to the 45-yard line. Tackled by Bradley Robinson, a reserve defensive back who plays on special teams for the Rebels. One minute played, fourth quarter. Smokey wearing a smile as Tennessee leads by 12 and has the ball in good field position. Peyton Manning comes out throwing, lofts it for Nash. First down in Ole Miss territory. Out of bounds at the 34. And Coach, you were clairvoyant as usual. You were saying during the TV timeout you had a chance that Tennessee might look down the field after taking over.
Well, I really felt that Tennessee wants to seize the momentum right now. You know, they have a great quarterback in Peyton Manning, but they're trying to get their running game established. They can't just totally commit to the running game with the quarterback they've got. They got to keep it loose, and they're doing that. But Tennessee has some real big play capabilities. The more they can exploit that, the better chance they have to become a dominant football team.
And this Ole Miss team is impressed today, hanging in there against the team ranked number 9 in the nation this week, Tennessee. Manning getting greedy now, looking for Price, and it's out of bounds. Well covered by Gary Thigpen. Thigpen, an interesting story. He came to Ole Miss as an unrecruited walk-on in 1995, impressed the coaches right away. And by the 6th game of the year, he was a starter and has been a starter ever since. And the coaches told us at the beginning, when he first started playing, to be about 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. By the end of the season, he was right up there playing tight bump and run coverage on some of the best receivers in the conference.
And in this defensive structure, he's got to play tight bump and run. But that's what confidence does for you.
2nd and 10. Manning throws too high for his good friend Marcus Nash. Timothy Strickland did the coverage. It'll be 3rd and 10 with 13:42 remaining, and Tennessee leading by 12.
Peyton Manning's got to be careful. That was an ill-advised pass out into the flat. If that ball gets picked off, it's a touchdown going the other way. There's no way to stop it. When you're throwing into the flat, you better make sure of all the coverage and where all the cars are for the car wreck.
5 receivers now spread across the field. Manning with plenty of time throws. Nice catch made by Cedric Wilson, the true freshman, but he's short of the first down. At the 28-yard line, Timothy Strickland knocked down Wilson, who just made the 4th catch of his career. And here comes the field goal team again.
Tennessee likes to spread the field. They like to thin out the defense. When you put receivers all the way across the field, it creates some vertical throwing lanes in that defense. And as a result, you generally have a chance to get a pass completion. Manning finds an open receiver. He hits him with the ball. But Ole Miss played good, sound pass defense and came up, made the stop, and forced Tennessee to kick.
Hall, a 46-yarder from the right hash mark, and that one is no good. So he's missed from 39 and 46. And Ole Miss is still within 12 points.
I was a little bit surprised that Philip Fulmer kicked the ball. I know it's a conventional time to kick the ball, but I think at times you've got to go ahead and turn your offense loose. I would have kicked the ball if I was coaching. I think Philip Fulmer, after he kicked it, said, "Oh, I wanted to go for it. Why didn't I go for it?"
Would you still tell the kicker how much you loved him after that miss?
No, I'd have that guy over there and say, "Listen, son, one more miss now, and I have to reconsider my options." That's what I'd tell him.
Oh, you turn on those kickers quickly.
I do, and I admit it.
They fake a reverse, and he gets reversed to the ground at Patridge, and fortunately for the Rebels, they got the football back. Blindside hit by Jonathan Brown. And it looked like Kedrick Vincent came up with the ball, and he might have deflated the ball, jumping on it at 345 pounds.
Watch Jonathan Brown, number 91 for the Volunteers. He smells out. He doesn't go for the reverse fake. He sees that the ball is not there, accelerates on the quarterback, knocks it loose. Ole Miss dodges a critical bullet right there. The game could have been out of reach with that turnover.
I think they may want to lose the plays involving the reverses and fake reverses. Those have been disastrous today for Ole Miss. Avery swarmed under. His childhood buddy Leonard Little drops him for a loss. And they're in reverse are the Rebels back at the 17-yard line.
Leonard Little starting to step it up here a little bit in the second half, starting to show that leadership on defense that he's known for. He's regarded as one of the top linebackers in the country. Here he sniffs out the play, and he stays right on his boyhood friend, John Avery. As he danced, and away they went.
Leonard Little called the best defensive player at Tennessee since Reggie White by Coach Fulmer. Third down. About 22 to go for a first down. And Reed will have to do a lot of running. No chance as Steve Johnson banged him out of bounds. A gain out to the 28. But they're well short of the first down. About 11 yards shy.
Really a good series for the Tennessee defense. After missing the field goal, it's easy to go back out on the field dejected. But sure enough, that defense came out and played really sound. Now they put their own offense in a position to get the ball back with decent field position.
Grant Hurd injured on that play, grabbing at his right knee.
He's trying to become a blocker. Gets really...
Oh, boy. That right knee, right leg planted in the ground, and that leg straightened up. Fortunately, he's back on his feet, at least for a moment. Far enough away from the sideline now where they can proceed with the punt. Reagan King to kick it away to Jermaine Copeland. Time running out on the upset-minded Rebels. 11:20 left as King kicked it away, and Copeland made a fair catch at the 28-yard line. Nice punt of 44 yards without a return. Peyton Manning as the Volunteers, the line of scrimmage, 1st and 10. They take over at their own 28-yard line, leading by 12 with just more than 11 minutes remaining. After the play-action fake, the pass incomplete. The receiver, Marcus Nash, hit the deck. He apparently slipped while making his cut. Malika Griffin had the coverage. Today's NASDAQ Scholar Athlete of the Game is Jeff Hall, the kicker from the University of Tennessee. NASDAQ's commitment to the investment in our future is shown today by donating $1,000 to Tennessee's General Scholarship Fund. Jeff's a 3.0 grade point average student. He's a marketing major here at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. 2nd and 10. Lewis rumbling upfield across the 35, down at the 36. 2 yards shy of a first down. Nate Wayne and Armiga Spearman made the tackle, and here's Jim Nance.
Well, Sean, there'll be some second guessing over at Vanderbilt. They scored a touchdown with 12 seconds to go to get within 7-6. They opted first to go for 2, but they got called for delay of game and then an illegal procedure. Finally, the 30-yard extra point try to tie it, and overtime was blocked by the Tigers, who prevailed 7-6. Vanderbilt's 13th straight conference loss. Back to Sean and Terry.
Wow.
Sometimes it's hard to learn how to win. You know, psychologically, the whole series of things. What a game that was.
On the run, very close to a first down is Jamal Lewis. Needed to get about midway between the 37 and the 38. And this one will require a measurement.
You want to get a surge by your offensive line, short yardage goal line. You've got to lower your pads and get a push, get a surge. And when you give the ball to a big 230-pounder, he'll get his own push in there. That's been the difference in the Tennessee running game today. They're over 100 yards. This young player, he's going to establish himself as a major factor in this offense. They're short of the first down.
By inches. And it looks like Philip Fulmer's going to go for it. Wow. This is high risk.
This is guts. I'll tell you this. I'd kick the ball in a second and play defense. My defense is playing good this half. I wouldn't run the risk of an exchange problem. It'll be a quarterback sneak.
And Manning appeared to surge forward, and he didn't need to go far. Taking advantage of his bulked up frame, 6'5", 222. Official signal yet.
You just don't know where the line judges coming in from the side are going to mark that ball. I've lived through some horrendous line marks.
And
by
probably some very good ones, too.
Well, I never figured those into the equation. I always thought about the bad ones.
I don't think this was a very good one for Tennessee. I think he made it, but I don't think they gave Peyton as much as he picked up there.
Well, when they're measuring again, you're hard stopping as the head coach, because you're the guy that made the decision to go for it.
And he made it by about the length of the football. First down and a big one with the time remaining now under 10 minutes. 9:56 left. Tennessee 2 out of 2 on 4th down today. And the clock is running with the Vols leading by 12. Manning has gradually gotten bigger and stronger over the course of his career on the weight program. As a matter of fact,
major happening this summer was when he was moving into a new apartment, and Knoxville paper took a picture of him moving into his new place without a shirt on the front page of the entire paper. And that's when you know perhaps you're getting more attention than you need. Al Rice and Malika Griffin combining on the stop from Jamal Lewis. Payton said, all I was trying to do is be a regular college kid moving into my room, and it winds up on the front page of the paper.
One of the things that's different this half with Tennessee, they're playing a tight end. They're not in 3 wideouts. A tight end gives you more running power. It gives you another inside blocker, and they're trying to go back to that theme of reestablishing a running game. On that particular play, Jamal Lewis got it done.
And that's the good news today. He has 112 yards rushing on 20 carries. They faked it to him. The home run ball is there. Nash inside the 10-yard line.
We said at the start of the telecast that there was a mismatch between Tennessee's wide receivers and Ole Miss's defensive backs. Marcus Nash just runs right past Malika Griffin. As well as Malika Griffin has played all day long, that particular play belonged to Marcus Nash.
His 9th reception of the day. That's a career high. That one good for 45 yards. First and goal. Volunteers with a chance to put it away to the end zone. Incomplete. And the nearest man to that pass was Gary Thigpen, the defensive back, with the coverage on Peerless Price.
What happens is that as you start running the ball, you start pounding away at them, those safeties, those corners start coming up in run support. And you lose a little focus, a little concentration. All of a sudden, you put it back in there 100 miles an hour, fake the ball to him, go back and launch one, which is what Peyton Manning did. And sometimes you get guys wide open.
8:15 remaining. 21-9. Tennessee has the lead, and they have it second and goal at the 9. The pass thrown incomplete. He had to dump it off as he was under pressure. Lewis, the nearest receiver. Andre Harrison had the coverage. It'll be third and goal. Peyton Manning, not only an outstanding quarterback, he was an excellent student and continues to be. Graduated in 3.5 years with a degree in speech communications with a 3.6 grade point average. Now he's taking graduate classes.
Notice how they've spread the formation, trying to create those vertical seams.
Quarterback draw. Peyton fighting for every inch down at the 3-yard line. And we welcome those of you who have been watching Georgia Tech and Boston College from Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Sean McDonough along with Terry Donahue and Michelle Tafoya at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. A crowd of more than 100,000 in attendance. And Tennessee has struggled today with the big underdog Mississippi. Mississippi had a 3-0 lead in the first half. It was 7-3 Tennessee at halftime. 2 early turnovers in the second half built the lead up for Tennessee. 21-3. Now it's 21-9, and Jeff Hall converts a field goal of 21 yards to make it 24-9. First successful field goal try in 3 attempts today for Hall. Back in Knoxville, impressive sight. This enormous stadium filled to capacity. Hall's kickoff fielded by John Avery. Avery back across the 20, and that's all. Peyton Manning, perhaps on his way to his 4th straight 300-yard-plus passing day. 24 out of 43 for 2 touchdowns and an interception.
And at least 2 or 3 drops. You'd be over 300 yards if those balls weren't dropped. But, you know, wide receivers drop balls, running backs drop balls. That's all figured in the equations of a quarterback's good day or not a good day. But
and they make some fine catches, too, on
Balls that probably should not have been caught to help the stats.
I think the offensive line, by the fact they're trying to run the ball, they're going to get a little more better protection for Manning and help him a little bit.
Stuart Patridge, the Ole Miss quarterback, out of the shotgun, threw on time, and Grant Hurd is driven back. Hurd back in the game after being down for a moment with a knee injury. For those of you who are watching the other game, Ole Miss scored first in the second quarter, a 42-yard field goal by Steve Lindsey. Tennessee took the lead just before the half on a touchdown by Marcus Nash from Manning. Then after the second half kickoff was fumbled by John Avery. Manning to McCullough on the first play, 14-3. Dwayne Goodrich ran an interception in 30 yards, 21-3. Then on the first play following that interception from scrimmage, Avery 74 yards, 21-9. And you saw the field goal a moment ago by Jeff Hall of 21 yards. It's 24-9. Deuce McAllister back up. Tailback, true freshman from Morton, Mississippi. Out to the 29, about a yard short of the first down. McAllister out of Morton High School, where he was an all-state defensive back last year. He's also the student body president.
You know, Sean, Ole Miss needs to hurry up a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, they're getting into 5 minutes and 50 seconds left in the game, and they're going too slow. They need to get into 2-minute offense or speed things up a little bit. They still have a chance. This game's not over.
And ripping through is McAllister, and he was tripped up by Corey Gaines on the secondary. That's a first down out to the 43, 15 yards for Deuce McAllister.
You know, Deuce McAllister is a young freshman that hasn't been hurt very much up to date. Watch the left guard right there, Terrence Metcalf. He comes over. He's a true freshman, comes off the ball, opens up a nice hole for McAllister. They think that Metcalf's going to be one of the real great players at Ole Miss before his career is done.
And impressive what they are doing with so many true freshmen. You mentioned Metcalf, a starter at guard. McAllister seeing a lot of work out of the backfield. They have a man wide open. Corey Peterson inside the 25. Well, when the Ole Miss defense held Tennessee on its last drive to a field goal, that was big because it kept them within 2 touchdowns. And now Ole Miss is on the march down to the 22. That's a 35-yard gain.
Well, what happened is Dwayne Goodrich, number 23 for Tennessee, he's covering. He falls down. He gets turned around, gets tied up a little bit, falls down. Corey Peterson catches the ball, and luckily Corey Gaines comes over with the help of Goodrich to make the player. It would have been 6 for Ole Miss.
4:48 remaining. Quick pass caught by Robert Reed down the sideline. Reed inside the 10 with a first down. Corey Gaines made the tackle. It'll be first and goal from inside the 7. 16 yards on the pass play to Reed, a transfer from Arkansas. He played quarterback for the Razorbacks.
He's in the slot right here. He's just going to run a little flat route. Patridge gets him the ball and then turns him loose, and he gets and attacks that Tennessee defense. Ole Miss is on a roll. They just need to kind of hurry up so they can get scoring and get an onside kick or play defense.
4.5 minutes remaining. First and goal. Tennessee on a blitz. Avery cuts inside and goes down at the 2. Again, it was Corey Gaines who made the play for the Vols.
Well, you talk about a back doing it all on his own. John Avery did it all on his own, that particular play. The play was well defensed by the Tennessee defense, and Avery just had to make something out of nothing, and he was able to do that. He is a very exciting runner.
And again, they're taking a lot of time in the huddle. Patridge still looking to the sideline for the signals. And the clock runs down to 3:45. Ending the fullback, moved out of the eye. Avery down near the goal line and short. And Terry, interesting that he's the back on a play such as that, because as you said earlier, he's known as the outside guy, where McAllister is the sturdier back up the middle.
Yeah, but I think they consider him their best back. And, you know, an old coach, Tommy Prothro, who I played for a long time ago, said, get the ball in your best player's hands. Make no mistake about it. And they're giving the ball to their best player.
And now they have put McAllister in at the tailback position. He gets the handoff and goes up and over for an Ole Miss touchdown. So with 3:01 remaining, Ole Miss is within striking distance. And they're going to go for 2 right here.
Absolutely. Deuce McAllister, the big freshman tailback, goes up and over. He puts the ball over the goal line. It's a dangerous play when you extend the ball like that, but as soon as it breaks the plane of the goal line, it's a touchdown.
And immediately Coach Tuberville indicated he wanted to go for 2. At the moment it's 24-15. Put the ball on the left hash mark at the request of the Rebels. Padridge with a lot of time. Now he's running out of it. He throws, and they have the 2. On a completion to Corey Peterson. It's a 7-point game with 3:01 remaining.
Credit Stuart Patridge with keeping his poise, staying calm in the pocket. He had all day to throw. The Ole Miss line did a tremendous job, giving him nothing but time to find an open receiver. When you have this much time, it's hard to keep people covered in the end zone.
Peterson was actually being held for a while there and still managed to break open for the 2-point play.
I just really like his poise back in the pocket. Just calm, cool, just found a guy, and two points for the Rebels.
He took a pretty good pop up high from Bill Duff.
Boy, did he ever. Bill Duff made sure he understood that that was a costly 2 points. Tommy Tuberville excited about that. They have 3 timeouts left. Now what you do, you kick the ball off, play defense, use your timeouts. You can get the ball back with 1.5 minutes or so to go.
Yeah, this is too early, don't you think, for an onside kick?
I think it is. I wouldn't onside
Especially
kick
with all
this
3
ball.
of your timeouts.
No, I'd kick this ball deep, and because they have their hands team in, they're expecting the onside kick. Unless you have a guy like Kentucky had who can kick that ball every time and make a good onside kick, like we saw last week.
And Lindsey will kick it deep. Terry Fair, who's not played at all at quarterback today, comes in on the hands team. And Lindsey kicked it to the back of the end zone. So Tennessee will begin at the 20. Jump on to CBS.sportsline.com this week. Make your choice for the greatest linebacker of all time in college football. The nominees are Brian Bosworth, Dick Butkus, Lawrence Taylor, Mike Singletary, and Jerry Robinson. Tune into our game next weekend. Find out who is the fan's choice in the CBS Sportsline all-time greats poll.
That's my choice right there.
Jerry Robinson.
Jerry Robinson, 3-time All-American at UCLA. He was a great one.
Recently enshrined in the College Football Foundation Hall of Fame.
There were a whole lot of other good ones and great ones on that list too now. But I love Jerry Robinson.
Well, I don't want to be around you when you run into Dick Butkus and you didn't vote for him.
You'll have to catch him.
Play action fake. Manning in the flat. Sean Bryson may go. Timothy Strickland, the lone defender, with a chance to knock him out, and he did at the 43-yard line. Huge play as Tennessee came out throwing after the Ole Miss score.
Great call by David Cutcliffe, the offensive coordinator. He didn't get conservative. Watch the fullback. Sean Bryson is going to slip out of the backfield, and he's in the flat. Malika Griffin, 34, fell down. Consequently, Bryson is wide open down the right sideline. Look at Tommy Tuberville. He knows it. He had a chance. He had a field position, 3 timeouts. He knows that's a big play.
Lewis stopped for a gain of 1. They should be using a timeout here, and they do. Johnny Jones and Mitch Baker made the tackle. Baker is a transfer from Tennessee. Back in Neyland Stadium playing against Coach Fulmer today. Tommy Tuberville imploring his defense to stop Tennessee right here. It's still 42-14 in favor of Georgia Tech in that game at Boston College, which some of you had been watching. Lewis with a big hole. Jamal Lewis heading for the end zone. Touchdown Volunteers.
feel some vindication for the offensive line. They popped a huge hole in the Ole Miss defense, and consequently Jamal Lewis runs untouched to the goal line. And you also got to love the fact that this young freshman has gone over a big day today, probably over 100 yards rushing.
Yes, well over now. Jeff Hall adds the extra point. That was a 42-yard touchdown run. And Lewis has 155 yards rushing on 22 carries. Perhaps they found the answer to their rushing problems today. Well, the fun has begun here in Knoxville. So now it seems this one is safely in the win column for the Volunteers. Avery had trouble fielding the kickoff, and he is buried under an avalanche of balls at the 6-yard line. Well, we welcome you home to America's Night of Television tonight on CBS. You won't want to miss Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, followed by Early Edition and Walker, Texas Ranger. All tonight, right here on CBS. Minute 17 left at Alumni Stadium in beautiful Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Georgia Tech leads 42-14. There's the big man on campus tonight, Jamal Lewis, a true freshman from Atlanta with a career day. Patridge hands off, and Deuce McAllister's dropped for a loss by Leonard Little. Ball came out, but McAllister was down at the 3.
Leonard Little has certainly stepped it up here in the second half. He must have heard my comment about his name not being mentioned in the first half, because he's turned it up a notch or two here in the second.
He did hear it. I saw him look up here and wave and give you the thumbs up. Don't worry, coach, I'll get right back in there in the second half.
And he has.
Yes, he has.
He comes here unblocked. When you have an open end like that, there's no one to take him off the corner, and he has a free shot at the tailback. The quarterback's got to actually get you out of that play.
Cedric Vincent injured on the play. Big number 73, who you saw in the middle of that pile. Tremendous noise now. The official attendance here today, 106,229, the 8th largest crowd in the history of Neyland Stadium. McAllister rips through the defense and gets out to the 28-yard line with a minute and a half remaining. And Mississippi still in possession of 2 timeouts. That's a 24-yard pickup.
You got to give Ole Miss a lot of credit, and Tommy Tuberville and his staff. There's no quit in this team. He's got them playing consistently week in and week out. They're competitive. They came in here. They certainly have not been run over by Tennessee. They've made a good accounting of themselves. I think this guy's well on his way to success at Ole Miss.
Well, as we've seen with some of the talented freshmen and sophomores in uniform today for the Rebels, many of them from the state of Mississippi, they're doing a very good job keeping the in-state talent at home. That pass skipped into Corey Peterson. Fell incomplete. Peterson's from Germantown, Tennessee, near Memphis, but lived for a while as a youngster in Nebraska. Grew up a Cornhusker fan. Thought he wanted to play for the Cornhuskers, but once he became a wide receiver, he said, no, they don't throw the ball enough at Nebraska. I don't want to go there.
Interesting what drives people and,
yes,
and towards different schools and stuff.
1:07 remaining. Tennessee leads by 14. They have a date with undefeated Georgia here next weekend on CBS Sports. Grant Hurd out to the 40 with another first down. They'll give him forward progress to the 42. Fred White, a reserve safety, made the tackle. And he'll move the chains. Still 2 timeouts remaining for Ole Miss. 50 seconds left. Movement, flag down. Looked like Tennessee was offside. The pass incomplete over the head of McAllister. And Patridge was sent to the turf by Leonard Little right after he threw that incompletion. It looked like Tennessee was offside again.
Coach Fulmer will have the attention of his troops about that in upcoming meetings
Offside.
and practices.
On the defense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And speaking of events upcoming, here's the schedule ahead for Tennessee. Next week, a home game with Georgia here on CBS, then at Alabama. That road game in the middle of a stretch in which they play 4 out of 5 at home. They return home for South Carolina and Southern Miss out of the conference. And at Arkansas, at Kentucky, and home for Vanderbilt. We welcome the rest of you who have been watching Georgia Tech complete its victory over Boston College. We're in Knoxville, where Tennessee leads by 14 over Ole Miss in the final minute. Mississippi with a desperation drive here, trying to get more points, but they're running out of time at midfield now with 34 seconds left and 2 timeouts remaining for Coach Tommy Tuberville's team. We had a look a moment ago at Jamal Lewis, who's had the biggest day of his brief collegiate career. He's rushed for 155 yards, scored a 42-yard touchdown on a run a moment ago that seemed to put this game away for the Volunteers after Ole Miss had closed within 7. Second down, less than a yard. Stuart Patridge throws it away.
You know, Sean, I think you got to give Philip Fulmer and his staff some credit. It takes courage to move a freshman ahead of the rest of the class. It's not easy. It affects team morale. It affects players' attitudes. Philip Fulmer and his staff decided that Jamal Lewis was the best potential threat that they had at the tailback position, and they had to get him ready. The 2-week bye helped him too, because it helped him learn more about the pass offense. You can't play a young tailback if he's going to turn a linebacker loose on your quarterback. Peyton Manning, the Heisman Trophy hopeful. You've got to make sure he's sound there. But Philip Fulmer took a chance, and he paid off for him today.
On third down and less than a yard, the pass complete to Deuce McAllister, and he runs out of bounds at the 43 with a first down, but they're down to 16 seconds left. Actually, the clock is still running, even though he went out of bounds.
Timekeeper must want to go home.
Yes. Here's what is ahead for Ole Miss, and it doesn't get much easier. 2 weeks from today at LSU. They will have played Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU on the road. That's a very difficult schedule. Then home games against Alabama and Arkansas. They're at Tulane. They have Georgia at home, and they finish with their arch rival Mississippi State in Starkville. 13 seconds remaining. Patridge with a flag down, throws to Lewis French, the tight end. They're picking up yardage, but they're killing the clock as well. 9 seconds left. We'll check out the flag.
Looked like Tennessee was offside again. The left defensive end looked like he jumped.
Offside on the defense. Penalty decline. Second down.
In just a couple of seconds, the post-game show. They'll wrap up all of the day's action from our College Football Today studios in New York. A bounce-back win after the disappointment of 2 weeks ago at Florida for Tennessee. And the Volunteers will go to 3-1 with this victory. The Rebels will be 3-2 for the second straight year. Last year they finished up at 5-6. A throw to the end zone, batted down with 1 second left. Corey Gaines broke it up. So one last chance for a heave to the end zone for the Rebels.
Philip Fulmer going to breathe a little easier after this one. Peyton Manning's going to be excited. They came back after that tough loss to Florida. Now they're back on the winning track again with Georgia coming in here undefeated. Huge game next week for Tennessee and Georgia.
And Peyton Manning today strengthening his Heisman Trophy candidacy with another 300-yard passing game into the end zone, and it is incomplete. And that's it. The Volunteers post the win, but it was a struggle throughout. Tennessee 31, Ole Miss 17, the final. Here's Michelle Tafoya.
All right, with Phil Fulmer, you were looking for answers to your running game today. You gave the ball to your freshman Jamal Lewis, over 150 yards. He iced the game with a touchdown. What kind of an impression did he make on you today?
Obviously, he's going to be an outstanding football player. We've known that since he's been here. We've been patient with him, trying to get him ready, and he's been patient with us, and I really do think he's going to be an outstanding player. I'm proud of our win today.
Yeah, you had said you knew Ole Miss was improved over last year. Did you know they were this improved?
Well, yeah, it was obvious on film. Tommy's done a good job with them, and they've recruited some of the kids that they're getting some of the kids that everybody else wants, and they've made a move, and I'm proud of our team today for getting this win.
Congratulations, Coach. Let's turn now to Peyton Manning, the winning quarterback today, although Ole Miss certainly didn't make it easy on you.
Well, they played hard. We knew they were a good team coming in, and we sort of stopped ourselves early in the game. Finally got on track there at the beginning of the second half, but it was a battle all game, but it's a good one to come out and get a win.
Spoke to your family before the game. Your mom, dad, and Cooper all went to Ole Miss, but they said, you know, family's thicker than that. Today they were pulling for you.
Well, sure. You know, there'll always be Ole Miss fans, but obviously this is kind of a special game. They're going to pull for me, but you know, still have a lot of friends there, and of course it's fun to get a win against them.
Congratulations, Peyton. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle.
Back upstairs to Sean McDonough.
And now the Mannings go back to cheering for Ole Miss on a weekly basis, as well as the Volunteers. 31-17, the final, in favor of Tennessee. Now for Michelle Tafoya and Terry Donahue, I'm Sean McDonough saying so long from Knoxville. We'll rejoin Jim Nance in our College Football Today studios right after this.